Yo. Hey.
What's up, gentlemen?
Good evening.
Can everybody hear me?
Hey. Nice shirt.
Is my audio coming through?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quite well.
Making sure I'm not going crazy. Oh. Welcome. Episode 94 of Snakes and Stogies. I'm Justin Smith of palmettocoastexotics.
I'm Phil Wolf of the Netflix Initiative, and joined tonight a very special guest. The one, the only, the one who needs no introduction, but we love hearing his name anyway. We present to you the Podfather, Mr. Eric Burke.
What's up, guys? How you doing? I've been sick for a week, so this is my first podcast.
You got the Rona?
No, I had asthma, allergies. I've been in the hospital 3 times. It's been
Jesus.
Jeez.
Yeah. But I'm here.
Yeah.
It's so funny now. If you don't have corona, people are like, "Wow, that's weird. You got the flu?
Yeah,
right.
What was that like?"
So,
well, glad to hear that you're alive and you're not, strapped down or plugged in,
yeah, right. Oh, Scott saying my bookcase is rookie level. Oh my goodness.
What's funny is
all of our snake rooms, all of our bookshelves, they're all rookie level compared to Scott's.
That's
which
true
is
story.
Legitimately true. What I was going to say is I think this is the first time I've ever noticed Eric's room illuminated. Like,
it is awfully bright in there.
It's awfully bright in there. I don't know if it's the white cages or the door made. I don't know.
I have some lights that are going on in front of me. It's probably what it is. Trying to upgrade a bit,
I like it. It's homey.
Yeah.
So, Justin, this is episode 94.
90 freaking 4.
90 freaking 4. And as always, tonight's show is brought to you by the fine people of the Pacific Northwest, the fine Gendra at Puget Sound Pythons.
Right up here in the corner.
That
Facebook,
schmexy.
Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. So as far as cigar stuff goes, I figured since we're having the Podfather himself on, that I would smoke some My Father cigars.
Excellent.
Nice.
So I have the La Flor de las Antillas. This is the 6x60, the Toro Gordo. I don't know that I've had this size yet. And this used to be one of my go-tos. Like the Toro was phenomenal. Got Cigar of the Year like a billion years ago. So I was like, I haven't had the 60, at least not that I can remember. So we're gonna light this one up. And then I got a Jaime Garcia, which is also from My Father, which is very good if you want something a little stronger. So that's why I'm smoking this first, because this is more of a medium smoke. It's probably gonna be even more medium because it's a bigger ring gauge. And then the Jaime's, that's on deck for round 2 if we end up going that long. So
nice.
Yeah, I will not be smoking a cigar this evening because my sinuses are still jacked from the Rona. And I tried to smoke
an excuse.
I tried to smoke a Romeo y Julieta, like a, I don't even know what it is. It's like a 2.5, 3 inch long 60, if that makes sense, whatever they call that. And it tasted like burnt newspaper. So hopefully this comes back to normal. Otherwise, I'm going to have to find a new hobby.
Speaking of Romeo, I did smoke one of those moldy Coronas this morning.
Oh, yeah?
I got to say, that thing tasted damn good.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Good stuff.
Nice.
We had so backstory is because I think we talked about in the group, the Snakes and Stogies group chat on Facebook, but we've had a box of Romeo and Juliet Coronas that come in the metal tube forever. We took them off the shelf like at least 2 years ago because they started showing signs of mold, like little white spots, which isn't a big deal, but people see it and they don't want to buy it. So we set that box aside. the owner finally pulled it out and was like, "Go through these, and if there's any that are okay, like take them." And so I was like, "They're all okay, I promise." And so I ended up taking like the entire box. Mold be damned. They didn't stop at nothing.
Nice.
Yeah,
But because they've been in there so long, they taste freaking phenomenal. Like they're
good. Now the question is, did you take a damp paper towel and gently wipe them off, or did you just smoke them?
Hell no. Just brush them off, man.
Nice. A true tobacconist.
I got a newbie cigar question for you. How long
Okay.
does a cigar typically last? Like, is there a shelf life on those things?
I mean,
Depends
there's not
on-
really a shelf life in terms of like it remaining intact structurally.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about this actually not that long ago. Like, not all cigars are meant to be aged. Just like all, like a lot of wines aren't necessarily meant to be aged. They're meant to be opened up and drunk. Cigars typically, from what I've sort of read and been told, is like around 5 years is kind of where they seem to peak flavor wise. You know, after that they tend to kind of go downhill and sort of lose flavor, because over time those oils and stuff that are in the cigar that give it that flavor, you know, they migrate elsewhere, you know, into the cedar, the humidor, whatever. So I guess it's really, it depends. It's personal preference more than anything. Like if someone wants to age something 10 years and they think it tastes awesome, perfect, then do that. But you know, typically 5 years seems to sort of be the sweet spot.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Cubans that were legitimately brought in by coworkers and family members who were in Cuba, and I've had them for 7, 8, sometimes 9 years since I started getting them, and half of them are garbage and the other half are phenomenal. And I attribute the garbage to just all the imperfections and inconsistencies with Cuban rolling, as Justin and I talk about all the time. And those other ones, I think they taste great because they've been sitting there just soaking it in, you know. And I have them with a bunch of other sticks, so it wouldn't shock me if there was some herbal cross contamination there. You know what I mean? I could be talking out of my ass, but I enjoy it. So, but
well, it's also dependent on how oily that cigar is too. Like if you're doing like a Connecticut, like a light wrapper, that's a light cigar period. There's really not they're typically not oily Connecticut's. Oily is usually like dark Maduros, like Colorado Oscuros, like the LFD or any of the LFD Lajero or double Lajero stuff is typically really oily. And so that stuff is probably gonna age pretty well over time because it's gonna mellow out some. But stuff like you know, your Connecticut's or some of your Habanos, those you may not notice as much of a difference in those because it's typically just sort of a less oily or drier leaf, if you will.
Yeah, I plan on taking some tabernacles, some like tabernacle belicosos, and just squirrel them away. You know what I mean? Just see how they turn out. Give it a year, like smoke one, see how it goes. Something like that.
Okay.
I
got one. I was going to say, I got. Oh, go ahead.
No. Yes. Question.
I was going to say, is there like seasonality with cigars as well? Like, you know how like beer will have seasonalities, you know, coffee has same thing?
A little bit. So because a lot of the tobaccos in cigars, at least most premium cigars, they sit on these giant bundles of them called pilons, where that leaf ferments, and that's where you get like that dark color for Maduro wrappers and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
A lot of these companies, they'll sit on these piles of tobacco indefinitely or for however long. But I mean, it is a crop still. So, you know, your hurricanes, you know, having to relocate to another plot because soil needs to be sort of rejuvenated or whatever. Just like anything else, like it's going to vary from year to year. You know, you'll get a cigar like the Oliva Melania is a really good example. You know, a couple of years ago, that was a great cigar, and now when I smoke it, it's just not the same. You know, whether that's because they secretly changed the blend or something, or if maybe just the crops just got weaker over time.
Gotcha.
Who's to say? I don't know. But I mean, there are some seasonal releases though. Some companies do like Fuente around Christmas does their extra viaje, which is usually really good, and we only get those like in December. So we have people who come in, see them on the shelves in June, and know they've been sitting there for a couple months, and they'll buy like every single one of them because they know that only comes out during Christmas. So there's a couple sort of like beers and stuff, there are seasonal releases. The Colorado Oscuro from LFD, once again, that's like a fall release for them. And so it's nice because then you have an idea of how long they've been sitting in there. If you're, in that realm, those have been in there a hot minute. If they're, if you're looking at like a cooler month release and you're seeing it in the summer or even the following year, that's a good sign.
Gotcha.
I also, going back to Eric's first question, was when he said, how long does it last? I wasn't going to aging. I was going to like duration of smoke.
That's what I was thinking originally.
Yeah. Excuse me. And it's a really interesting thing because there's so many different spectrums in terms of that. Like there's a lot of quick smokes, and like sometimes they'll even warn you. I know like some of the tobacconists that are worth their weight in salt, they'll say, hey man, those are really delicious, but be careful. You're going to be done with it before you know it. Or, hey, that thing burns really slow, FYI.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to buy these Sosas that were, they were like a short Toro, and it appeared like a good 15, maybe 20-minute smoke. That thing would be lit for like an hour, and you just.
Well, I love those warped Cortos, man. Like that looks like a small, quick smoke, and it is not. It's going to burn just as long as any Robusto will, and that's and that's a question I get asked a lot is, how long is this going to take to smoke? And there's just too many variables. The roll of the cigar itself, the gauge. So your Lanceros and stuff, those are going to burn fairly quick depending on the roll, and they're also going to burn hotter. So you really want to slow down on those. Stuff like your 60s and whatnot, because there's more filler and binder, they're probably going to be a little more prolonged. So it really just, it depends. Like Padrones, I can smoke a freaking Padron Exclusivo in what feels like 30 minutes, and that's like a standard Toro. They burn so quick, and that's just because Padron is known for rolling fairly loosely compared to other companies. And so I also get a lot of people who come in and they start squeezing and finger fucking, for lack of a better word, these cigars and telling me, oh, this is hard, this is soft, this is hard, these aren't right. And it's like, dude, it ain't that simple. Like it depends on the company and the people that are putting it out. Like box presses also typically burn. They have less filler and binder in them to accommodate for that box shape. So those do typically tend to burn a little faster and usually a little funnier too. So
gotcha.
It's the Cliff Notes version.
I love it.
Cool.
Oh, so we have a bunch of stuff to talk about tonight.
Yeah, this is like the first show we've actually had like serious like planning for. And even then it wasn't even like serious planning. It was like a list of like, we want to hit this.
Yeah. Well, let's first talk. We love having the Podfather on. It's an honor and a privilege to be graced with his presence, even if it's digitally, right?
Come on, man.
But we also feel bad for him because he was left behind by his kin.
Yeah.
So you want to elaborate a little bit?
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of sucks, right? Yeah, we've been planning this trip for a year. It's actually supposed to be it was the hopeful Australia trip, 2021. But clearly things are going going crazy down there. But no, I got some family stuff going on. People with my father-in-law is not doing too good, and my wife has to go down to see him. And I just felt that if I was out in the middle of the Arizona desert and something happened, that I don't know, I couldn't leave her, so I had to stay behind for that. And and my mom, she has some health issues too, so we're taking care of that, and just the timing just screwed up. But I am glad that Owen went, because it's weird that he went and I didn't, because typically he's the one that doesn't go,
right?
And I'm usually there. But no, I wish those guys good snake hunting. And I told him, the funny thing was, I said to him, I said, man, if you guys go and you just like find all these snakes all the time, it's going to be me that's like the bad luck charm, and you're gonna
Nah, come on. No.
you know. But yeah, no, that's really what it was. And then it turned out, it was kind of like me and Rob were going back and forth, and Rob, he kept trying to, push me to go. Come on, man, and we were holding out hope till the last minute, and then I got sick, and then that was it. That was just it. But feeling better now. I'm on the mend, and yeah, that's sort of why they went and I didn't. So,
well, at least you didn't fall for it like I did in Texas. So,
come on, man, dude, that was an experience of a lifetime.
50 more yards, man. It's right there. It's right there. It's right there.
Yeah. There's no way I would have survived a Rob Stone hike in my condition currently.
Yeah. I think it's fair for all of us to say that at this point. What's funny is Mr. Bobby Pebbles himself, he sent me the itinerary because I was breaking his stones about finding stuff. Right. And I was like, you're going here, and here? I was like, This is the list. If you don't get 80% of this list, I'm gonna be very disappointed in you. And I just sent him like everything that I would want to see in that area, because we have to live vicariously through them,
Yeah.
So
I want to see some Coleonyx pictures, man.
Yeah,
right.
So I didn't even think of that. I think they found a dead gopher snake and some kind of spider, some kind of tarantula of some sort. So
well, I told Rob that you guys, I not even knowing about you and Owen having that running joke about the good luck charm, I told him, I was like, look, man, you're gonna find a hell of a lot more snakes because I'm not driving. So
right on. Yeah, Justin's driving.
Oh, okay. Nice. That's good.
So
that's good.
But yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, they're I know that the pictures will come and it will be glorious, and good for them, man. They're hitting some awesome spots, some awesome, very diverse terrain.
Yeah, and actually Nipper was supposed to go with us as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was in that mix too. So, but obviously he can't get over here. So
yeah.
So we'll just have to talk about it
if he actually tried.
Yeah, right. That sounds like excuses, right? Yeah.
People stow away in wheel wells all the time.
Look, just tell him to hitch a ride somewhere, get to the Yucatan, and he could just walk in through Del Rio.
Perfect.
Yeah. I got to tell you, as excited as I would be about herp in Arizona, it would be fabulous, no doubt. But now that I'm into monitors and geckos, man, I can't wait to get back to Australia.
Yeah. So that's actually a perfect segue, because Justin,
that was on the list.
That's on the list. So I want to hear about your Aki and your Pulvarensis, because it's dream species, and how you have everything set up, because Justin is also building his Aki enclosure as we speak.
Oh, so cool.
It's built. I actually have it. I've had it plugged in the last couple of days to let all the soil and stuff really dry out that I put in there.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I have new bulbs coming tomorrow, because the hotspot right now is only getting to about 90, which is ironically way too cold.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy, man.
So I got this set up. They're supposed to be coming Wednesday, so I'm gonna get it set up tomorrow. And
what bulbs do you end up getting?
I went with the daytime 50-watt mini halogens, and I got another because Bill Bradley sent me the ProSol fixture, and one of the UV bulbs had broke, so I got another UV bulb coming, and then I bought a 3-pack of the mini halogen 50 watts for like $16 or something like that. So.
Nice. Be careful of those mini 50s, man. Those mini 50s are stupid hot.
Yeah, and I was talking to Alan Stevens, who I'm getting the Akis from, asking him what sort of he uses and stuff. It's a 200 quart tub, so I may have to play with it a little bit, because maybe one of those 50 watts may be enough. I don't know. We're gonna have to see. But
so how far is it from top to bottom? Like from bulb to basking site?
I mean, right now they've got probably 6 inches at least, more than that.
Okay, because I have 12 inches on.
They're not like right up there.
Yeah, I have 12 inches on a 50 red for Brettles that I got, and it puts the basking sight 12 inches exactly at 92.
Okay,
So,
yeah. Then this is one of the red bulbs is what's in there now, and it just I don't know. I wanted something that cranked out a little more heat. So
yeah, and I think the screen that is underneath the because I put the halogen on little legs because I didn't want it directly on the screen, and even with the little legs that come with it that you screw on.
Yeah,
even with those little tripod legs, the screen was like 118. So
yeah. I'm more worried about like literally melting the lid of this tub than I am the animals themselves. Since they live on the surface of the sun, apparently.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, my setup's pretty. I mean, I'm actually working on their, I guess, adult cage at this point because they grew. They're pretty much at that point. I'm gonna go probably 5 or 6 foot long, probably 3 feet high, probably 2 feet deep as size wise for the adults. I think I'm going overkill, especially, but
I feel like with monitors, man, it's like I don't think there ever is such a thing as too much space.
No. I gotta warn you, man. This is a slippery slope.
Well, fortunately, I'm so strapped on space in my room that I literally am like I don't. They may even have to be in the garage for a little while until I can figure out exactly where it's going to be. Like,
buckle up, man, because you're gonna be cutting projects out and getting rid of this and that. You're gonna be like, yeah.
Well, it's a childhood dream come true because I wanted Ackies as a kid so bad. I remember like the reptiles articles, the magazine and stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, finally, I'm old enough. I'm a big boy now. I got my own money, and well, I'm trading Stevens a Chondro for some. So, we'll see.
For years I wanted them. I've wanted them for a long time, and Rob has always sort of like not talked me out of them, but the bugs and the whole thing that comes along with it, because I've always been a snake guy. You know what I mean? It's always been snakes, and taking care of snakes is way different. I mean, taking care of lizards is way different. As you know, Justin, you took care of geckos forever, and Phil, you're a gecko guy, so you guys know. But when you've only had snakes for the past 15 years, you kind of forget. Being sick all week, you can't you gotta get yourself some energy and go down and feed them, and whereas the snakes you can just sort of let it run on autopilot.
See, I've always liked Varanids though. Like I've always liked monitors. I've always wanted monitors. It was just one of those things where it's like I know I can't devote the space to them, which is the main one. But then there's the other smaller stuff like you're talking about, like feeding, bugs, and then like hard-boiled eggs and chicken or whatever else, you end up throwing in the rotation, and snakes spoil you. It's
100%.
But you do get. I've gotten a lot of I don't know what the word is, benefit. I don't know, enjoyment out of keeping them, because they're with those. They also have different. Again, as you guys know, they'll come out, they notice you when you come down into the room, they'll come and check you out, and they're doing things with each other and in the environment. And yeah, man, it's just a whole nother thing. Now, I thought the Ackies were cool, but when I got the Kimberleys, that's a game changer, man. They are the coolest monitor, period. Oh man.
Well, what's the big difference? Like what is it about them that sets them apart so much? Is it a personality thing? Is it a behavior thing?
Yes, definitely. Like these, and obviously who you get them from probably makes a difference as well. I got mine from Mike at Mike's Monitors, and he kind of worked with them a lot. So when I come down in the morning and I do the routine with them, kind of spray under their hide and whatnot to give them some place to go and get humid if they need be. But I'll feed them right off the tongs, and they just kind of come right up to me. They're like little dogs. That's man. Awesome. It's pretty freaking cool. They're just sitting in your hand as you're just hand feeding these things. And because there's 3 of them that kind of like play with each. Yeah, it's wild, man. You know, they're like
I don't know.
they're like, yeah.
I'm
Dude.
oddly nervous about it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's like so much more than snakes as far as work goes. That I don't know. But
Yeah, but I think it's all relative,
I'm weird.
man.
I'm nervous about it.
If anything, I've found that keeping lizards in general has made me a better snake keeper because I'm not so lazy with them, you know?
Yes.
And it's funny because like I don't know if it's the weather change or maybe because I've been messing with them more often, but like Anna Marie was sleeping over there tonight, and at like 1 a.m. she hears. She's like, "What was that?" I was like, "It's just lizards being lizards," you know. But like, you think about those sounds, and like, I can't tell you how many times I've been like, "Oh yeah, there's a lizard in there. I gotta take care of that thing."
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. So, yeah, and you know, I love the learning about new things and like you know, being on trips with Rob, as you guys know, the walking encyclopedia of reptile knowledge.
100%.
You know, he would say all these names to me, and I know them, but now they've sort of like connected. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They've sort of become like carpets are in my brain now. You know, and I forget. You know, again, Rob is kind of known as this guy that does rhino rat snakes and Jamaican boas and these kind of, you know, weird Asian colubrids and stuff like that. But
right.
He's also, I mean, he's worked with all these, you know, I'll be like, did you work with it? Oh, yeah, I work with them. I had those and, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
God damn it, man.
Anytime we say, anytime we talk about like the ether, he is the ether.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Every time I talk to him on the phone, I learn or remember a new species.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, yeah, you know, Porthidium. And I'm like, what? He's like, you know, the so-and-so. And that's it every time.
You guys talk to him on the phone?
All the time.
Not enough. Not enough.
Yeah.
Well, see, it's like the problem is God bless him. You can't just have like a 10-minute conversation. You can't.
Oh, yeah. It's like talking to Harlan. It's like gear up for a minimum of an hour.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah. And we usually do. Actually, we should probably make it a podcast, but we usually do we'll get together once a week and we kind of have notes on all the different podcasts we've listened to, and he'll have notes for me for, you know, NPR, or what me or Owen said wrong, or you know, whatever the case would be. But yeah, you know, we'll chat about that, and you know, that's sort of where I got the whole talking in definitives, you know, because for a long time I would always say like, you know, nobody works with you know, nobody does, and that's just not true, man. 99% of the time there's somebody somewhere working with what, you know, something that you just don't know about it. And you know, going into the monitor world just shows me how partitioned our hobby is, you know. I mean, snakes, and then you have pythons, and you're a boa person, or you're a colubrid person, or you're, you know, and then there's gecko people, and you know, monitor people, and dwarf monitor people, and it's crazy, man.
It's awesome though, and it's awesome that we all, even whether we've all either kept it, keep it, or plan to keep it. And I think that's what's awesome too, is that you be like, oh man, I didn't know you had Kimberleys. Tell me all about them, because now I'm fascinated, and it just spreads, you know?
Yeah. You know, Rob's been he's been telling me for a long time that like, I'm not, you know, me and Rob we've known each other for a long time. So, I mean, he knows my darkest, deepest secrets and all, you know, so he knows how my brain works and stuff. And he's been telling me for a long time that I should cut the collection down to something that's enjoyable, rather than, because I'm not doing it as a business.
Yeah.
I have no plans to do it as a business. So why am I treating it like I'm doing it as a business? You know? That influence, it took me a long time, but I'm slowly but surely kicking into that, to where, you know,
if he was the leader of a cult, I'd be all about it. I'd join in a heartbeat.
Hell yeah,
would-
man.
I would bring my own Kool-Aid.
Right?
Yeah.
Rob says
No
we're going on a
doubt.
ride on a comet. Hell yeah, man.
We're doing it.
Hail Satan, brother.
Yeah, I
It's
love
just-
that guy.
It's just a yellow T-shirt with a moon pie in the middle.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Baird's moon pie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But,
Oh, that's awesome.
But no, I mean, I'm sure, Burke, to a degree, you feel the same way, but like the monitor thing coming back into like corns and morphs and stuff, like it feels good to sort of be green at something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
a completely new slate in a sense, to where it's like, okay,
100%.
now I like you gotta learn all this stuff and pack as much information, but it's something exciting and something new to sort of dive into.
Yeah, me and Nipper are actually on a kick with Aussie geckos too, man. There's some amazing gecko.
He is killing
Mhm.
it right now.
Yes.
He's killing it.
Yeah.
Oh.
He messages me all the time. What have you done to me, Burke? What have you done?
That's good. That's good.
But I got those, what is it? The ocellated velvet geckos from
Yeah.
Dustin.
Oh,
they're pretty
Odura?
cool. Odura, yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool. I'm digging them so far. They're not as cool as monitors, but
Yeah.
but still very cool. It's cool to have something different.
I didn't even know those
variety.
existed until I started paying, me and him started talking and I started looking at his Instagram and stuff. Like I had no idea what those were.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
cool.
you start looking and then you see all these geckos and you're like,
Mhm.
holy shit. Because obviously I know knobtails, right? I know about
Sure.
Right.
knobtails. Everybody knows knobtails because they're so different, but there's so many other species, just it's cool stuff,
And you saw the baby Strophaurus that Nipper got?
Yeah.
Dude, like
crazy.
stupid cute.
Yeah, I've been wanting them since that's that stupid blackhead story stick thing that made them pull over, and we found one of them, and I just was amazed by this thing, and it's funny how when you're herping and you don't know, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when you herp, I'm sort of snake
Of course.
focused, it's like snake,
100%.
snake.
Blinders on
So-
everything else.
Yes, and I think Justin, you've sort of experienced this with the Coleonyx in Texas, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's you learn to appreciate more than just that one thing that you're.
It's like seeing the pictures, yeah, those are cool, but then seeing one in person is like, all right, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, I'm loving where I'm going, and not having to deal with all the drama that comes along with the morph shit and no thanks. I'm done with that.
Enjoying the animals for what they are and why you have them.
Yeah, because I feel like I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I feel like I've learned a lot about carpet pythons, but I feel that by keeping them in something that I can't really observe them or see different behaviors and stuff, I'm not really focusing on like seeing it right in front of my face on a daily
Sure.
basis. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Yeah, because even if you check the tub, and I'm not bashing drawers and tubs. I own copious amounts of it, but even if you open the tub when you wake up, open it before you go to work, open it when you come home from work, and open it before you go to bed, you can't observe.
Right.
All you're doing is letting that snake go, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Every time. While it's in an enclosure,
100%.
you can sit there and watch TV or read a book or do whatever, and you can pick up things. And I get that.
Yeah, I think the way our hobby is geared, it's like you're geared to sort of, I've said this on NPR. It's like, and maybe we're sort of responsible for it in a way. It's like, but you're highlighting the breeding of something. So then therefore everybody feels in order to be anybody in the hobby, you sort of have to be a breeder, and I've sort of given that up, and I'm like, well, my mark to the hobby is going to be podcasting, that's my mark,
100%.
So it's not being a breeder, producing the first, this, that, the other, but I'll still breed, no doubt. But just not on that level. You know.
Yeah, I totally get that. So how did you set the velvets up?
Right now, real simple. An Exoterra. Sort of have sort of this like sand, coconut husk bark type of mix.
Yeah, I saw
same,
he posted his topsoil with some swag and some sand.
yeah, basically.
Yeah, it looks great, man.
Yeah, and then you know, just some cork barks and stuff in there for now. It's a real simple setup. I actually have them in my snake room because you know, it's like 83 ambient in there, so I just keeping them in there for now. But they're in like one of those real small Exoterras, you know. Yeah. Cube. Yep.
Perfect, man. Perfect.
So.
And dude, as they get bigger, man, and they get more velvety and the colors start coming out. Oh
yeah, man.
Oh man.
I can't wait. Yeah. So I did pick up a pair of Underwoodosaurus millii. I think I
yeah. Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Where'd you get them from?
I got them from April.
Good.
She was looking to move them out, and I had talked to her maybe a year ago about getting something.
The knobtail.
Well, well, I'm going to tell you this is that in Daytona, her and I talked, and I was going to buy them from her, and I honestly, when times come and go, and sometimes you can make a move and sometimes you can't. And she called me and she's like, "Hey, do you still want these things?" And I was like, "I do, but I can't. I'm not going to lead you on. You know, I can't do it right now." And she's like, "Okay." I said, "Look, when the time comes, if you still got them, great. If you don't, no hard feelings, whatever." And I'm so happy that you got those lizards because those ones that she had are such choice, flawless specimens.
Yeah,
it legit. Like, I'm so happy that you got those geckos, and they're not just some normal, you know, barker.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to them too. So,
dude, wait until you're literally laying in bed, and like you'll sit there and like you'll do, you know, when you're laying in bed, you do one of these, and like you kind of move to the side because you're watching TV or whatever. You'll do that, and you'll catch the glare off of their eye that's reflecting off of something, a nightlight, the TV, whatever. And then you'll be like, what the hell is that? And you'll go over and they'll just be sitting there smiling like, just like, where's my bug? Because their eyes are their eyes are so giant, so reflective, like literally across the room. And every time you open the door, they're just smiling. Hey.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Great geckos, man. Great. I bought I bought a pair of babies from Leland Ward at DW Geckos 2 years ago in Daytona. And he's like, look, man, you know how this goes. To me, it looks like a pair. I was like, well, I don't want to assume because they're babies and I don't know anything about it. These are my first barkers. And he's like, well, this one definitely looks like it's going to be hypo. I'll tell you that. And he wasn't wrong. It turned out to be hypo. And then the other one shed and it's also hypo. And they're both girls.
Oh, shit. Damn.
So and I didn't even want hypo. I wanted the friggin' normal ones. So I wound up buying a random like yearling male that looks normal. So hopefully I'll get something fun out of it next year.
Oh, cool.
But dude, I'm so happy you got those geckos.
Yeah, my dream knobtail is Amy. I definitely will have them at some point.
Well, dude,
Asper,
you know, Doc Jutlander, like it's just a phone call, man, for you. You know?
Yeah. I got pygmies from him coming at some point.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Let him get them started.
Yeah.
You do all the legwork.
Yeah. Doc, I'm not gonna be able to take them for at least 5 to 6 months.
Yeah. My goal is to sort of have like I have 3 rooms basically at this point that I'm sort of gonna build upon and have a lizard room, and then sort of have a cold room and a warm room, and have naturalistic enclosures so it almost looks like zoo type level stuff to where, you know, I can just go and enjoy these animals, you know, cut them down to manageable sizes. And well, the cool thing with, I guess, with the bugs and stuff is you can, I'd much rather breed bugs than mice. So
yeah.
I'd probably die from asthma if I had to deal with mice. So,
yeah.
But So,
Are you doing roaches and crickets or just crickets?
no, I do the roaches. I thought that I would
Crickets,
have a
I've
hard.
never figured out crickets. Crickets always were
Yeah.
tough for whatever reason to breed.
Yeah, I'd
for
rather
me,
just
like,
buy 'em.
produce.
Yeah, like keeping them and breeding them and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I
Yeah.
hear. Yeah. Yeah, I swear, I was going to the local Petco or whatever to get the cricket, and every time I go, they don't have them. So I just went online, and I think I Rainbow Mealworms was the place that I was getting the crickets
Yeah.
from, but Dubia roaches I get from dubiaroaches.com, and they come once a week. You're on a subscription. It's like,
Oh, nice.
yeah, you don't even have to worry about ordering it. It just comes,
I'm planning on getting another colony established at some point.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out, trying to figure out how to
They're
do
really
that.
easy.
Yeah, pretty straight ahead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me
Keep 'em
let me
dark.
know how the Odora do with those roaches, because dude, I stopped doing them because the geckos, I don't know if it's they're stupid or what, but like those roaches, they burrow in the sand and that's it. They're gone forever. So
that's the only downside to dubia is they disappear.
So unless I'm tweezer feeding the roach, I just stick to crickets because I know that they're not getting it,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like with the monitors, a lot I use I'll put the dubia in a cup.
Yeah.
And I'll just go down and I'll feed out of the cup, and then I take the cup out, and it's pretty straight ahead. I don't have to worry about that. But I haven't tried to feed the. That's the reason I got crickets, was because of the geckos. So I haven't tried to feed them dubia yet, but I'll keep that in mind. That's good to know.
Yeah, because you'll put them in there and you'll be like, oh man, he ate all of them. Awesome. He didn't eat any of them. They're just in the dirt.
Yeah, they bury themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eric makes a good point. I've heard that from quite a few people that insects can give you allergies too. So I do wear a mask. I do.
I got sensitized to dubias when I was breeding them, so I usually I was wearing a face mask anytime I was cleaning them, because that dust and stuff would just really kick my ass.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I've sort of been reluctant about diving into breeding them. Like the idea of it is great, but having them come once a week and you keep them in a container and then feed them off. And,
yeah, I mean that's easy. Yeah. If that's working, do that. But just breeding, you have to just make sure you're sort of keeping them clean regularly instead of doing one massive cleaning, once a month or whatever. Because it just once the dust and stuff gets going, and it just I'm not allergic to really anything except for pollen in the spring. But that dust from those dubias, man, it really. There was one day where I could feel my throat closing up. It was that bad. It was
wow.
Yeah,
wow.
And I've never had a reaction like that before. I went and popped a Benadryl and just took a nap. Scary.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and I'll tell you too is when you're breeding roaches specifically, and then you make a mistake and you back up or your elbow whacks the container on the ground. And you just burn the house.
Oh God!
Just burn the house down. It's I don't do it anymore because the girl doesn't like roaches. I'll respect that.
Right.
I mean, if I do, it's 4 or 5, that I just give as treats or whatever. But when I had hundreds and hundreds of roaches, I only kept stuff that couldn't climb, because how many times I've knocked that fucking thing over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I had red runners for a little while too. Miguel's talking about a red runner colony, and those are great and all for movement, especially with tarantulas and stuff. But man, breeding those things was a real pain.
Yeah. I thought about doing some of the native Florida roaches and stuff that live in the palmetto heads and stuff. That way, God forbid they did get loose, it's totally native. But they need the palmetto to survive in terms of the eating the wax on the leaves and whatever else. And I was like, it's not gonna work. It's not worth it. I'll just buy crickets.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of where I'm at the moment. And I don't see myself getting too crazy to where, I'd have to breed some enormous collection of roaches.
Sure.
At least I hope.
Yeah. The worst was I had a good little colony of Malagasy giants, right? The hissers. Right. And at the time I was paying like 50 cents a piece for adults. So, and I did the Vaseline around the rim so they couldn't climb out. And you feed them whatever you got laying around the house. And I had them. At the time, I had a girlfriend who had no idea. And I guess she like walked in the house when I had like the tub on the sink. And she's like, "What is that?" And like, that was the end of it. And I got rid of them. And then a week later, they were banned in Florida. And they were selling for like $10 an adult.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, I could have just sold them all off and let it be someone else's
millions.
Yeah, well, not millions. I could have made a couple $100, but oh well, such is life. But,
so how were your Aggies when you first got them? Were they pretty skittish, or because you got those from Mike too?
No, I got them from Mike Brogna.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I guess so. They hit a lot, you know. Took them a couple weeks to sort of get to actually see them, you know. I was like, I was kind of disappointed, you know. Like, wow, you know, it's
thought these were
get a monitor. It's supposed to be out, you know, enjoy it, you know. It's like I don't even see the damn thing. What the hell, you know? And then I guess once they get confidence, they come out. And, but yeah,
come to the West Coast, have a few laughs.
yeah.
I don't know. That's what I'm most excited about. I think is sort of that building the relationship and trust with them, and making it an experience.
Yeah. It's what does Mike call it? You're the food monkey, you know. So they become a relationship with the food monkey.
Bring me my arthropod, food monkey.
yeah. It's it's good stuff. He's I love him, man. It's really cool. Really, really cool. I think if I had space, probably the only big monitor, well, besides a Perenni, you know, if that ever was what you know, could be. But Mertens are pretty amazing, and I bet you have that. You know, you could be amazed for hours watching them swim,
sure.
And, you know, all that stuff. But
I like the Tristis and the Roughnecks a lot.
Yeah, they're cool, no doubt.
Dude,
the
Pilbarensis will forever be my favorite.
So I love the fact that that's a Brettles python in a monitor. You know what I mean? I mean, they look exactly like a Brettles python in a monitor. But Rob swears to me that Kimberly's are way better. He promises me I'm gonna go with them. You know, I'm gonna go with it.
That's what I've heard is that the Pilbras are more of your display, whereas the Kimberleys you can interact with. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if you get a Pilbara to sit on your hand, you're gonna have 36 seconds of awesomeness and then it's gone. You know? Yeah. So hey, there he is.
What's going on?
Hey, what's up?
How you going, Eric?
I'm alive.
And Phil. How are we all, guys?
Excellent.
Hello.
It's Monday.
Mate, I hope you like cleaning fucking Gecko Urates off glass if you got Ojura and Exeter.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, we'll live and learn, man. I don't know.
Like fucking horrific for that. So bad for that. But they're beautiful animals, and mate, they look the best as juveniles.
Right.
Ojura look the best as juveniles. They only get worse as they get bigger.
So they're like the ball pythons of geckos.
Yeah, I suppose. They're bloody gorgeous animals, though, and there's a heap of undescribed species in them as well. So there's a whole swag of shit that needs to be sorted out with them. But you know, they're pretty awesome animals, that's for sure. And you know, a lot of the diplodactylid geckos will take things other than insects as well. So, you know, experiment with jams and saps and things like that. There's a pretty interesting paper by Angus McNabb on them eating flower eating flower buds and shit like that, and plant saps and things like that. So they get a lot of the sugars from that, particularly in the spring.
I'm glad that Scott's here and we're talking about these Diplos, right? So why is a Ditella called a Ditella? Am I saying that correctly?
Ditella is the correct term. I have no idea where the name comes from.
No one does. No Australian.
Honestly, everyone refers to them over here as Gahara.
Okay.
Most people refer to them as Gahara over here.
Okay.
So some people call them Ditellas. It's an older name. I think it may have an origin in a noise or something along those lines, but I don't remember them really making any sort of vocalizations. Sometimes they'll scream a little bit when you pick them up, but
Same.
a whole heap of geckos will do that as well. So.
Yeah, because I've been looking. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah,
the
speaking
Gecko
of
man
Dustin,
himself, right?
yeah,
I've been looking for variegata for years now. Ever since I really got into geckos. Obviously, I don't think there's any stateside. If someone's listening and has them, please let me know. But I always see the name Ditella, and no one can tell me why. So maybe it's just one of those things.
Yeah, it's certainly been around for a long time. Next time I'm talking to Hal Cogger, I'll see if he knows the origin of it. But I certainly don't know, and I don't remember seeing it. But I have wondered about the origin of the name before. So,
Nice.
but they're interesting geckos. I mean, they're very fecund. I mean, I hate to think how many clutches a year something like some of those larger Gahara would have. But also too, I mean, they're such a taxonomic mess as well. I remember when I first started looking at Gahara, there was about 14 species. I think there's over 50 now in Australia alone.
Wow.
holy shit.
Jeez.
You know, and there's a couple of big complexes that haven't really been hit yet in regards to that. So that number's only going to go up. Your saxocoline ones, it seems that just about every different rocky hill in each different drainage has got their own saxocoline Gahara on it, and one species turns into 8. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, I just think it's crazy how you have like some of the giant ones that come out of Halmahara, and then you have something as small as variegata. Like that doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't feel right. But what do I know?
Variegata is a medium-sized animal.
Okay.
Gahara nana is much smaller again. Minuta is small. Montinium is small. Paranana is small. And then you've got things like Australis. Australis is really large. Coira is huge. Coira's got a snout vent length of 127 millimeters. So that's, what's that, 4 to 5 inches or so in the thing. And then add a tail onto that. They're a similar size to Oegirotyranni. And they're fast. God, they're quick. Hard-shelled egg layers, 2 per clutch. But they don't. Hemidactylus are better breeders. So, wherever you get Hemidactylus, the Hemidactylus eventually push the Gahara out. But if you get rid of the Hemidactylus off your property, the Gahara come back. So we've got Gahara dubia on our place at home because we don't have Frenatus.
That's awesome.
I remove the Frenatus when I find them. So, just because I prefer to see native geckos running around on my walls as opposed to, but we have Tyrons on our walls at home, and we also have Nebulifera robusta, the robust velvet geckos as well.
Very cool. And obviously all those those house geckos, all the invasive stuff, you keep all them, right? Just for scenting and such?
No, I get rid of them.
Fair enough.
They just go because I don't want to introduce a pathogen from a gecko into my collection if I can avoid it. What's the point of having quarantine if you're just going to bypass it and put bloody wild geckos into your collection.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So,
Makes sense.
I mean, freezing only does so much. So, taking tails off maybe and mushing up a tail and all the rest of it, that's a viable thing. But I mean, at the end of the day, half the time, to be honest, I just force feed these days. It's quicker and easier, and I don't have to muck around. I just force it down straight and then move on to the next one.
Nice.
But yeah,
Nice.
anywho, so what else been happening?
Nothing. We have a laundry list of stuff to get through tonight, and I love it. We're having really good departures. It's fucking great. How's my Wells Eye, Scott?
Yeah, next question.
How's
They're not doing great. They're not doing great.
Really?
We lost quite a few. Yeah, we lost quite a few of them. I made a rookie error. And so I used to raise a lot of my baby death adders. We used to raise them in an incubator. And so we just had the baby tubs in the incubator and raise them up that way. So they had constant heat all the time. Note to self, that's how we'll raise Wells Eye from now on. Because we were using a heat cable, and the heat cable in the room gets turned off for a summary of 14 hours a day. The heat cable's off, and then the rest of the time the heat cable's on. So it's more of a simulation of a realistic thing where you've got things get cold at night and then they warm up during the day.
What's the temp drop?
So the temperature goes from it's winter, so it was a bit longer. It's a bit higher than I thought it was going to be. It still sit within the realm of what the temperatures were in the Pilbara. But basically what happened was they got too cold, and then by getting too cold, then we had some issues. They just didn't want to. They weren't metabolizing their food correctly, and yeah, one thing led to another. We lost a few of them. But look, it is what it is. Nothing to do about it. Learn for the next time. At the end of the day, as embarrassing as it is, you're better off learning from your mistakes and explaining what they are, so someone else potentially doesn't make the same stupid mistake you make. So
100%. 100%.
So, but anyway, it is what it is. They're on my disappointing list now. And once I figured out what the hell I was doing wrong, I fixed it straight away. And when I fixed it, no more problems. It's just like, yep, you moron. How did you not figure this out so earlier? But anyway, yeah. But yeah, other than that, heads down, bums up. Working on the second edition of the Snakes of Australia book at the moment, and doing some other things. So we're always busy.
Cool.
Hell yeah, brother.
Trying to do some herping.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of that. I am jealous of that.
We me and Ricardo are in together, and they're looking good. So they're curled up, and then they're as far apart from each other in the enclosure as they can. Then they're curled up again. So, fingers, arms, legs, everything crossed. Hopefully. But I was talking to a couple of blokes in WA. He said that the WA ones are mating at the moment as well. So, with a bit of luck, we might smash out some imbricata.
Nice.
So jealous.
We'll see. But yeah, and then trying to get out in the scrub and safety thing. You were saying before about targeting geckos and stuff like that when you come out, Eric. Pick the weirdest endemics that you can find, target those ones, and everything else will come along as bycatch. So, and that's honestly, that's how we tend to hurt. So, we want to go look at there'll be a weird skink or a weird gecko or something like that lives on one hill. We'll go herp that hill. That's where we'll go looking. Because at the end of the day, you'll come across your blackheads and your carpets and your children's and your spotters bloody elapids and all the rest of it. You'll come across those when you're on those hills looking for that gecko. So it's just win-win-win.
So it's kind of like what we did with the Owen Pelly. Shoot for the one that you're not going to find.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. I mean, that old belly still fucking hurts. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you, but God, that hurts.
Yeah.
But that's all right. It's all good. It's all good. You did well. You did well to see it, that's for sure. So, I don't know. It's one of those things. So, what about yourself, guys? So why are you not herping at the moment, Eric? Why are you not in Arizona? Something about people being sick? Something about you being sick? Hey,
Yeah,
if Nipper had come over, Nipper would be saying you go have a cup of tea and just man up.
Yeah. Nipper wouldn't. No, if it was just me that was sick, it wouldn't be a problem. But my father-in-law and my mom is not doing too good, so I couldn't leave my wife.
Family first, mate.
Yeah. So
family first.
I do think it's funny because right around the same time that Nipper knew he wasn't coming to the States, that's when all these geckos started appearing. So he's definitely filling some kind of void.
Yeah. I think I told him I was getting the ones from Dustin, and I was like, check these out. And then next thing you know, he's like, oh, well, look what we have. And he's sending me all these pictures, and he's like, oh, I didn't even know these exist. So then there's the the book with it's like the ebook. I can't think of the guy's name. He does a gecko one, a dragon
Danny
one.
Brown.
No.
Danny Brown.
It's no. It's like a picture book more.
Oh,
So
Gunther.
yeah. That's it.
Gunther.
Yeah. So I started sending him pictures of these different geckos in Australia, and he's just like, "What the hell?" And then next thing you know, he's like, "Oh, we got them here." And he, son of a bitch.
Yeah. Gunther's an amazing photographer. So he's a really nice bloke. He lives about 45 minutes from my place. So
shit.
yeah, he's good value. Amazing turtle photographer. So but he's done a heap of rock work as well. That's what he used to do. He used to do a lot of concreting and rock work and stuff like that in zoos and aquariums and things like that all around the place. He was one of the best concrete artists out there. And if you ever get to Riversley, the toilets at Riversley that don't look like toilets, they just look like mounds of limestone in the national park, they were built by Gunther.
Oh, no shit.
Out there. So he actually had the contract to build them. And you go into them, it's like going to a toilet in a cave. It's crazy. So, yeah.
Would that be where the first, well, not the first, but River Silensis? I'm saying that right?
Monty Python's Riversleyensis, that's where it came from. The Riversley fossil deposits is where that came from.
Very
so
good.
It's now Morelia, I believe, is now
where
they've been moved back into. So,
when are the corn snakes out there going to become the species?
Yeah, well, I mean, all the ones we have over here seem to be morphs as well. So, and there's lots of them.
Pantherovis guttatus hyperi.
No way. Oh,
correction, hyperi.
Fucking savage. Hyperi, yeah. If you're going to insult me, you might as well insult me properly. Yeah. Nah, look, unfortunately, their numbers are going up. We've got Hemidactylus garnottis started to increase in numbers as well. So, these disappointing things happen. No, garnotti. It's another species. It's known as the fox gecko. So if you Google fox gecko or Hemidactylus garnotti, it'll come up. They're quite different. Different artists, but they do exactly the same thing, and they shouldn't be here. So, I'd much rather see, the tellers running around and you're running around people's houses as opposed to hemidactylus. So, but, the hemidactylus seem to have a really strong reliance on humans. So as soon as the humans move out of an area or there's no humans there anymore, the hemidactylus disappear within about 20 years. They don't seem to be able to survive in the bush. They can only survive.
Oh yeah, those. I'm looking at them now.
Yeah,
That's very interesting. I mean, like,
I catch
funny.
turkeys here, and they're great for scenting.
It's funny you mention that because like we'll go out in the glades and the only place you'll find hemidactyl or like any kind of invasive gecko is on a structure. You'll never find them in the cane fields or in the wetlands or anything. It's only on like the side of a pump house or an agricultural building.
That's how they are here.
Yeah.
Apartment complexes and stuff. Certain apartment complexes around town have them. Some don't. They're like very pocketed here, at least.
So you'll see hemidactylus, if you're looking on trees and stuff like that around human habitation, you'll see hemidactylus on them. You'll eye shine hemidactylus all the time on that sort of on natural cover. But it's only adjacent to structure. You don't tend to get them out. You don't tend to walk out in the middle of the bush and see them. The one place that I have seen, I did see a lot of hemidactylus out in the bush, was not in Australia at all. It was in Samoa. So in Samoa, middle of the rainforest in Samoa, eye shining in there at night. I was looking for Candoya, arguing with the locals that they have snakes there because the locals are very happy to say that they don't have any snakes on the island. But they do, obviously, and I was hoping to find them, and I never found them, but I found a shitload of hemidactylus in the rainforest. It's the only place I've ever seen hemidactylus away from sort of main structure, I suppose.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
So you guys mentioned Hal Cogger earlier. If anyone hasn't checked out the most recent issue of Herpetoculture magazine, I did an interview with him, which is in that issue.
Yeah, looks amazing.
Yes, she did. Hal's lucky enough to call him a bit of a family friend these days, and so I did an interview with him, and it was a really good interview. And obviously they had a lot of fun doing it too. So, but Hal's one of those people. I mean, you talk about stories. The stories that he's got going out and herping with people like Eric Worrell, Roy McKay, and lots and lots of people, lots of other herpers in Australia that he's been out with, and also around the world. So chasing critters across the globe, just a lot of fun.
Yeah, legitimately an inspiration. It's very cool that Ty could get that interview with him, and that you guys are such good friends. Like, that's super cool, man. Super cool.
Ty's been killing it on the articles lately.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She was like, "Can I send you some stuff?" I was like, "Of course you can." I'm like, "If you say no."
Yeah. Well, she's sending you some good stuff. You got to keep hitting her up about more topics. I'm sure that she'll do more for you. I mean, obviously she's preparing to take a bit of a break at the moment with some medical stuff, but I'm sure if you hear her up, I'm sure she'll say, "Yeah, okay, I'll do something about this." It's good, and lots of different articles and all the rest of it. It's always good. That little magazine of yours that you guys put out is really a really fantastic little piece of literature out there, and the fact that it's really available and shareable, it's a great thing. It'd be really good to see, maybe some of the NPR guys could get together, Eric, and write down the carpet cliff notes that you've got on the webpage. Maybe you can start putting it out into turn it into an article or something like that and give people a bit of a rundown on some of these things. It wouldn't be that hard of a thing to do, but might make it a bit easier to find it and cite it down the track.
Well, it's funny you say that. I'm actually working on that.
Oh, good work.
Yeah, we
Good
did
work.
like Morelia specific pages for a while, just talking about some of the different lines and then some of the just subspecies and stuff too. But we haven't had one in there in a while. So
It'd be good to talk about some of the origins of some things,
Yeah.
and maybe some of the the stuff that used to be around that isn't around now, and
Yep.
that'd be a really interesting question in regard to some of the imports and things like that that used to be around, that used to be relatively freely available.
Yeah, there's a
There's
a line of coastal carpet pythons that was called the Sylvester line, and they were beautiful, beautiful, beautiful snakes. And for whatever reason, that line, they would get these tumors. So the line just kind of disappeared. But yeah, if you're working with stuff from Nick or Michael Pinnell or stuff like that, probably somewhere it's mixed in there. But really, really amazing coastal carpets.
So was the issue with it just a bad line, or was it an inbreeding thing, or what?
I can't imagine it was an inbreeding thing, because they were, they really weren't bred all that often. But I think it was just that line, right? Just the genetics,
Yeah.
I guess.
It just didn't work.
So.
Well, sometimes things aren't that compatible, and
Yeah.
it's the interesting thing about having animals in captivity. We're arbitrarily selecting them to breed together, and so we're making the decisions for the animals, so to speak. And sometimes those animals shouldn't get past juvenile eggs. That they may not be a great hatchling, but they do all right in captivity because they've got this constant source of food. And even if they don't eat properly, you've got experienced keepers that know how to force the food down their throat. So they get to adult size, but realistically, they should have never got to adult size. They should have been food for a mulga snake or a lace monitor or something like that.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what happens with some of the issues that you see in some of the more domesticated species, I suppose, for lack of a better term, that are out there. You see that in some ball pythons are a little bit average, and some of the Antaresia morphs are a little bit average, where there's something not necessarily quite right with them. It's not quite to a point that it's like a jag gene or something like that, where there's it's a deleterious effect from the gene, but it just means the animal's a little bit weaker and it's not quite right, and that means that you got to outcross it, or you got to do this, or you got to do that to try and strengthen it. Well, realistically, that animal would just die in the wild. You wouldn't be able to.
The granite carpet was like that, they inbred the shit out of that, which is crazy because it's the only carpet python you can get in the U.S. that you could get wild carpet pythons, and they inbred it. So go figure.
So do you see the issues with granites now that you did when you first saw them, or are they? Is it bred out of them, so to speak, or what?
Yeah, outcrossing has fixed it. As opposed to in the early days, you would hatch out granites that had no eyeballs and did the jag wobble, and they would have kinks, and they were just a train wreck. And
that didn't make the value go up.
I think that's why they didn't catch on, to be honest with you. I think like people just, at the time the drama, the jag was going on, and some breeders didn't share that information, and then they sort of said that it can be outbred, which fair enough. I mean, at the time, you can look at it back now and say, well, you should have known. Yeah, I guess so, after 20 plus years or whatever. But I don't know. If the snake's coming out and it's wobbling like that, there's probably something wrong,
Yeah, but you still got guys trying to make supers, like, come on, man. Like, we know what happens.
Yeah.
Like,
No, but they're going to be the one to do it.
Greatest thing I ever did was get rid of Jags, man. That was the best move I ever made. I held on to them for so long just because I thought I had to have them. And as soon as I got rid of them, it's just such a joy not to see a carpet or something that's not going like, it's just,
Mate, we never kept Jags. I think you and I in the early days actually had a bit of a back and forth on that, Eric. When I spoke to you about Jags, I said,
yeah,
I'll never keep them because for me that's my line in the sand.
Yeah,
they're a beautiful animal. I appreciate them, and I don't brag on anyone that wants to keep them. But for me, it's something that I just couldn't do. I wonder if I know there's some issues with zebras as well, isn't there? Some of the zebras have a bit of a wobble to them at times, or they, you breed them two together, and then you end up getting the club tails in the
zebra.
If you cross a zebra with a granite, do you get issues as well?
No, they're fine. Actually, zebra granites are probably the most vicious carpet ever. They're evil.
So what happens if you do a super? What happens if you breed those together and get like the super form of both of them?
So the problem is, I think the issue is the super zebra, right? Because when you start mixing in other genes with the super zebra is where you get some problems, and a lot of those eggs don't hatch. So very rarely do you see like these combos of super zebras. And again, years ago, it wasn't really known because nobody really did these combos, But I mean, there's two people that I know of that have albino super zebras. And again, it's this holding on to hope that somehow, I mean, they should have been produced by now, right? I don't know. At zebra, just straight zebra, there's no issues. It's the super that's the problem. And funny enough, the same thing happens in the blood pythons, right? You got the batik. There's no problems with the batik, but when you breed a batik to a batik, you get a patternless snake that has a kink in the tail. So, the blood python people shy away from making super batiks. They'll breed batiks, but they'll do it to combos to other stuff.
So is there a jag version of in the bloods as well?
I'm sure there probably is. I don't think that there's one that's necessarily known out there right now, but
yeah, I feel like it's also a concept of the animal itself has a different locomotion. You know what I mean? And so so like what we may see a Curtis like twitching its head or whatever, kind of acting like a rhino viper, we assume it's just twitching its head because it had an itch, but that could be a gene. But because it's not a carpet that's constantly on the move, we're not seeing it do backflips, right?
Yeah, the funny thing about the jag thing too is like some of them aren't that bad. Like I think what held me onto it for so long is that I have a tiger jag that has no issues at all. But once you start breeding them, then you start seeing these things hatch out of eggs, and you're like, "What is this train wreck? Like what that?" No, this is not good.
I know some people have, they've got animals that, it's a stress-related response, isn't it? For a lot of them, they don't start to, or an excitement-related response maybe might be a better phrase, because some of them will only show it when they're being fed, or when they're being bred, or when they're handled excessively, and all of the other times it's like a perfectly normal, stunningly beautiful snake. And it's the same thing, isn't that the same thing with some of the spider balls as well? Isn't it the colour mutation's fairly similar? They both have neurological issues that are linked to it. And it's the same thing with some of the spiders. Some of the spiders apparently don't have the massive wobbles and things like that. And then there's one in leopard geckos as well.
Enigma, I think it is.
Enigma, that's the one.
Yeah.
So
there's also
and they all seem to have that same thing. Sorry, what was that?
There's one in Retex too called the Jag that has that same gene. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So this snake right here is probably, dare I say it, my favorite carpet in the whole carpet group. It's a normal fucking jag from Billy Hunt, and has no wobble, no backflip. It doesn't stress. It is just the meanest snake I've ever owned. And
That's just from motherfucking Billy Hunt.
It's because it's from like look right here. Like this is like just ready to rock and roll. And I took these pictures because he just shed. And like it's a screaming animal. It's gorgeous. And it's flawless in every way except for the fact that it's a psychopath.
Dude, those red jags that I produced I don't know, last year or the year before or whatever. I mean, just amazing animals. They're just 100%. Stunning. They're white with orange and red. I mean, they're crazy. Yeah. And it hurt my soul, but I couldn't do it. I had to get rid of them.
Yeah. I get it, man.
I think so. As you go along, too, you want less and less animals as well. I mean, we all go through phases, stuff like that, where we're like, not necessarily want to get rid of everything, but you sit there and go, I don't want that much all the time. And it becomes a chore. You know, stuff becomes a chore. You love it, but it's still a chore at the end of the day.
Yep.
So I suppose I like to see how the hobby's sort of changing. I think it's changing for the better in a lot of ways. But you know, you don't necessarily have to have lots of animals. You can have less animals, but if you keep them really well, people are really excited about it. And I think that's where the bioactivity thing is going. People would rather have smaller amount of enclosures, but do them up in a way that's aesthetically pleasing. So not only do you have a beautiful animal, but you also have a beautiful furniture piece as well. You know, and
let's be real too. Is I clean less because I don't have to. You know what I mean? Let's be real here. Let those bugs do their work.
Yeah.
See, I'm messed up because I have so many arid species that, well, most of them eat the isopods. That's the first problem. And then I put all these springtails in and try and keep the soil as hydrated as I can. And then after 4 or 5 days, I come to a water bowl full of springtails. It's like, so I got to pour the water bowl out, let them go wherever they go, and then start from scratch. So I'm still got to figure out that arid bioactive thing.
Yeah, that's tough.
I think so. Maybe the other thing is as well is that the size of the enclosures as well. Obviously, the bigger the enclosure, the more substrate you can have. The deeper the substrate can be, the more activity that you can have going on in there, the more cleanup crew, etc. that's in there, the better it is. And I think that's the problem, is that people have got this idea that a 4 foot by 2 foot enclosure is something suitable to have 2 snakes in. Well, it's okay to have 2 large snakes in that size enclosure if you're always cleaning it out. But if you try and do that up as a bioactive setup, for anything larger than something that's about 2 feet long, you're really going to struggle to be able to maintain a reasonable balance for what's inside that enclosure to try and process the material that comes from that snake.
Yep. And now I notice I'm focusing in on a lot of species that are not as active because I want to make it pretty and I want to make it look cool. And I know that as soon as I make it look cool, they're just going to mess it up. So like keeping something like Cerastes, shy of them like going up the walls of their enclosure at like 3 a.m, they don't move. They just sit there. So I know I can like add some decor and whatnot, you know. But that's part of the game.
We had a conversation about maybe doing a bioactive enclosure for a mulga snake, and I said as long as we don't want any of the plants to stay where they're meant to be, it's fine. You know, it's fucking bulldozers.
Well, that's where you get fake plants in the corners to hide the seams of the cage, and you rubber cement them to the bottom, and then you just do leaf litter and grass and whatever else. So if he knocks it over, he knocks it over. You know, at least the big plants won't be destroyed per se.
Right.
This is a mulga snake. It'll destroy the big plants. You know, destroying the plant. You'll find a way to remove the stuff that you adhere to the ground. You'll find a way of getting it off.
I've only ever had a fake mulga, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, think of it like a forest cobra, but twice as strong.
Yeah, that would be poopy. That would definitely be poopy.
Yeah, they're just horrible. I love them, but they shit.
Yeah,
that's it. They're almost as bad as tiger snakes when it comes to poop. So.
I wouldn't know. I saw some guys in Europe just popped out a bunch of tigers, and it just sucks because he's like, look at my new babies, look, my baby's eating on their own. How glorious this is! Like bad English translation, and it's like I'll never fucking see that in person. Jesus.
Mate, honestly, you don't miss too much. We've got the tigers we have at our place are because Ty likes tiger snakes. I'm not a big fan. I like to look at them. Don't get me wrong. Like the KIs are nice, and the westerns are nice. And we've got a beautiful unbanded there as well. But Jesus, they're a lot of work. They're a lot of work to keep clean. So, but yeah, that's all right. Oh, such is life.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to get off because I've got to go to a bloody meeting now. But it was fun to jump on and stir things up. And what is Owen going to be down to intern 4 now, Eric, or what?
Yeah, he's upset because they didn't have a sign for him at the airport that said best NPR host, and I said, well, that's because you're not,
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah, he's lost.
I reckon you need to make him a little hat. Those hats that have got like a little wheel on the top, like the dunce hats with the little thing that you spin around,
little propeller,
right? With a little propeller.
Yeah.
And present it to him at the next Carpet Fest, and just go, and it just says best NPR host ever, and just give that to him like that. No, there you go, mate. There's your prize.
Nice.
And if no one tells him about it, and he doesn't listen to this, right, and you just hand it to him, this will be even better. You'll just be like, what?
It's gonna have a big.
But you got to get somebody to film it. Oh, 100%. 100%. If you could get one made out of fur, so you can have like a faux Bigfoot hat, that'd be even better.
My goodness, yeah. He's wearing a GoPro, so we're gonna have Owen vision, and this should be interesting. So see how it goes.
All it is pointed at the ground, and then every 20 minutes it falls over. It's just like a week of rocks.
So when you've been herping with Owen, is Owen at the front or is he at the back?
I
always find this interesting because you go out with a group of people. Some people always go to the front, some people always go to the back, and some people want to be at the front, so they sort of like jostle for position. It's like this.
I think he's
weird running race.
I think he's a position jostler. Yeah.
Yeah, so always wants to be at the front.
He's trying to get up there. Yeah.
Did he find stuff though?
Owen? Yeah.
Because if he's finding stuff, he can be at the front. But if he's not finding stuff, he can't be at the front. That's how it should be.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's got a pretty good eye. I'll give him that.
I must admit, I actually find these days if I can't be at the front, that's it. I'll like stop. And I'll wait like 10 minutes, and then I'll walk along 10 minutes after everybody else. Let people fucking hide it, scare everything, and let them all come back out again, and then I'll just amble along afterwards.
See, I don't really care about being the Nipper. Always busts my stones about this, but I don't really care about being the guy that's found it. Like I just care about seeing it. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to be the guy like, oh, I found it. I'm the one that got it. And it's like.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you. As far as I'm concerned, if you're on the herp trip, you all found it.
Yeah.
You all found it. You're all there. You're all looking. And as much as I give you shit about that OP and saying that, Keith was the one that saw it, That's only because I'm giving you shit about it. You know?
Yeah. I know.
You know, but yeah, no, in all seriousness, though, you know, if you're on the trip, I know people that when they go out herping and they've gone out and used traps because they've been out trapping, if they don't get it in a bucket in a pit trap that they actually dug the bucket for, they don't count it.
Wow.
So even if it's they're doing the survey and they're going through and they're checking the bucket, if they check those buckets but they didn't dig that bucket in, they're like, well, not really mine.
That's
Yeah, right. If you don't want to fucking count that as yours, that's fucking fine. I'll fucking count that as mine. I've got no problem with that shit.
I think that's just ego, man. It's just the ego, you know.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I'd rather be the guy at the tail end who's doing this the third or the fourth or the 10th scan of that line than the guy at the front who missed something.
Yeah, that's
right.
True.
I would rather be the guy at the back than the guy who missed it. Because if you're in the front and you walk right past something, well, you're that guy. You know?
Mate, I think we all walk past a lot of animals that we never realised that we fucking saw. That's the other side of it.
100%.
Oh yeah.
So as much as I hate to think about it, you know, I've walked past a lot more animals than I've bloody seen. So, and I think if anyone's genuine about it, they're exactly the same.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, all right, okay, moving. Talk soon, eh?
All right.
Take care, brother.
All right. So
Thank you.
Bye. Always a treat.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to him. We've been on the phone now more often than ever, and I was talking to him about 4 hours ago. We talked about him coming on because and it's like it's difficult because it's amazing that with a push of a button I could talk to someone on the other side of the freaking planet, but every so often it just doesn't work right. So it's like, hey, let's finish this conversation from 2 days ago. You know, it's like I don't even remember what we're talking about, but you continuation of it.
100%.
And I was going over to the farm, and I went up getting a couple of snakes, and I had them in a deli cup, and I'm looking at them like, this is awesome. And just going back to what we were talking about, having, you know, a more manageable collection, right? And I realized that I'm at the point now where everyone always says, I have what I want. No, I don't have what I want. I'll never have what I want because we always want more, right? But I think what I got now is a good eclectic group of everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I like that we're just talking about like you branching out and doing like the lizard stuff and stuff like that. And I really think that we all keep eclectic and obscure collections, but having that right number and setting them up right, I think is a paramount thing. I really do.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And even if it takes someone many years to learn that for themselves, because some people, they just need to figure it out the hard way. You know what I mean? I'm one of them.
Yeah, me too.
Even if it takes you months or years to figure it out, when you do, it'll be awesome. You know?
I think the thing that I always struggled with coming back into the hobby was, you know, a lot of the people that I looked up to or picked their brains or whatever. They sort of worked with one thing, you know. So I thought that's kind of how you had to go, you know. And I every once in a while would dabble into like adding stuff here or there, but I really struggled with that because I think, to like what we were saying earlier, it kind of like made me a worse keeper because I had that species dialed in perfectly, like carpet pythons, perfect, have them perfect, but put a white lip in there or a chondro in there, and they're not as forgiving, you know? So like the things that I would take for granted of python keeping, really, I wasn't being the best python keeper I could be, you know, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, it does. And I think it's very interesting because like I don't consider myself a python guy. I mean, I don't have a single boa, but the small group of pythons that I do have, like I look at someone like yourself and it's inspirational. You know what I mean? It truly is, right? But then at the same time, I also get to observe you branch out
Yeah.
and continue to learn. And that reassures me too, is like, you can still branch out, you can still learn. Look at the Podfather, he's doing it too.
You're
And I think
never
it's
too
great.
old to try new things.
Yeah, and
No,
dude,
man.
like that's why, like, I was always terrified of getting pyros, and now I've got all of Brian Hubb's books, and I got a pair of them. So that's the next adventure, you know.
That's awesome. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
cool snakes. Yeah, you know, Rob, I keep going back to Rob. He's probably the guy that influenced me the most in the hobby, in reality. But you know, he would tell me, it's like, you try something, if you don't like it, dude, you just move on. You know, you tried it, didn't
Yeah.
work, move on to the next thing. You know, don't think that you are less of something because
Yeah,
you couldn't make this work or you didn't enjoy it. You know,
sure.
And we do podcasts, and when we're talking, we sort of talk in, like, you know, I guess we're a little bit, I guess dramatic is the word. And I say things like white lips suck. And it doesn't mean that I think they suck. They suck for
Yeah.
me. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
They suck for me.
Well, it's like, we always have this famous saying in like reptile wholesale and import export, is like, oh, that species, it dies really well. And it's like, no,
Right.
like, we joke about that all the time. And
Right.
and most of the people that we're joking with, or I'm joking with, they know I'm joking.
Right.
But at the same time, it's not that it dies well, it's that my husbandry was completely wrong.
Right.
You know, or I wasn't attentive enough to that species' needs.
Right.
And you know, and then when it comes down to brass taxes, if I really, really was passionate about that species,
Well, that's it.
I would have figured it out.
Yes.
You know,
100%. Yeah.
and that goes back to, not to get on a pedestal or anything, but like, Henry is perpetually harping on me about keeping what you love, even if it's
Yes.
one snake, keeping what you love. And that's why, like, that's why I got into the Renkals, because, like, it's a species I love. It's a species that I plan on really working with, even if I never produce a single baby. I have the collection, I have the group that I have, and I've got other projects too. But like, he's right. You know, you have to focus on what you really like. You know, you still love carpets, but you really are passionate about these other lizards. So, like, let's expand into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I will always love carpet pythons. That's just,
it was my
cannot
first
picture,
python.
Yeah, I can't picture myself without having carpet pythons. But that doesn't mean that's all I have to keep, you know. So
sure, yeah. So, Smitty, what did you want to cover next? Because I feel like we departed a little bit.
You were talking about the fake bites.
Yes. So one thing I wanted to touch base on, and maybe it's because, I don't know if it's because I'm physically observing this, or if it's because people send me links and articles and stuff like that. But I've been noticing a lot of old venomous accounts, old venomous bites resurgence on Facebook and on Instagram. And at the same time, the photos are completely wrong. And they're either photos that were just pulled off the internet, or, you know, if it was a diamondback bite, okay, it was diamondback bite, but the photo they use is a diamondback bite from 15 years ago. And it's like, that's not that guy's hand. That's not this guy's story. That they're just pulling stuff. And I don't know. And I don't think it's like fake news. I think it's people Googling rattlesnake bite, and the first one that comes up is the story from 10 years ago. And they assume it's the one that everyone's talking about right now that happened yesterday.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was like an animal rights thing, to where they were trying to dig that up.
And you know what?
It
could be that too. I mean, we see it constantly, you know, like animal rights people, they get terroristy at times, you know. But in this case, I really feel like it's someone trying to tell a story and not doing their homework as to the real story. Just recently, there was a whole thing about a gaboon bite. Somebody got tabbed by a gaboon, and there's pictures. And you can clearly tell that of the 4 or 5 pictures, the last photo is probably the gaboon bite. Just the way it looks, and the fact that it's a more modern cell phone camera, whatever it is. But the other photos, you can go on Southeastern Hot Herb Society website right now, and you can find those photos, and they're actually from Western Diamondback. And it's a classic, like, it's a classic photo of major hemorrhaging on the palm right here, and it's all blown out and purple. And it's like, well, people are just throwing stuff out there. And I feel like if not to do like a public service announcement or anything, but like if we're going to tell a story, we definitely need to like look at the date of the website that you found. You know what I mean? Little things like that. And I feel like because we're just taking Instagram and Facebook at face value for most of this stuff regarding our hobby, our industry, certain things are, I don't know, I got annoyed by it. I don't know if there's even a conversation there to talk about. I just got annoyed by it.
Yeah.
It's like
I can see what.
the mysterious 9-foot carpet python.
Yeah. Force perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's gigantic.
Yeah.
So, and I guess that's a good segue into our bite of the week if you want to do that.
Yeah.
So,
I am still getting those Ackies, Dustin.
Yes, you Dustin, you were fashionably late. We previously discussed this. You'll have to listen afterward. By the way, love the dirt video. Absolutely love the dirt video on Instagram. FYI, anybody who needs to go figure out the perfect semi-arid substrate, check it out. So recently, an individual in the UK was tagged by a rather obscure species of venomous snake. And I say tagged legitimately, like tagged. Should I just read the account and then we go into it, or should we just tell them what it was? What do you think?
Read it with your sultry voice.
Oh, Jesus. All right. So
Paint me a picture, Wolf.
Yes, sir. So this individual was envenomated by a venomous species. And I'm gonna try and read his Facebook account and his account of the incident, and then I have some pictures to follow up. The bite occurred at 21:26. That's the time. A stab from a single fang of the stiletto viper, Actractaspis subspecies, to the knuckle on the index of the left hand. The snake was secured back in a bag, boxed and placed in a locked vivarium. Basic first aid applied, rinsing under tap and gentle pressure applied to try and remove any venom. That ain't gonna work, but good. So let's talk about this. So the stiletto snake, Actractaspis subspecies of sorts, a species that is very much on my mind right now, and I've been doing so much Actractaspis research on my own between papers, and I just got the edition Chimera book that's actually coming from England.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm definitely keeping the species, and I know that they're going to be a pain in my ass because I've kept them before, but not me personally. I took care of ones in collection. But these are what we refer to as mole vipers. They're actually not vipers. They were previously in colubrid's group of animals, but they are their own group, Actractaspis. And they're a fossorial, semi-subterranean species of burrowing snake. They're highly venomous, but on record as of right now, I don't believe there has been a modern fatality, meaning, post 1900, I don't think there's actually ever been a recorded fatality, but it is one of the most excruciating and life-fearing bites you'll ever encounter, simply because of the amount of rotting flesh and the intense bouts of pain that come with it. They get the name stiletto snake because their fangs are retractable and they come out the sides. So anytime you see people throating a snake or pinning a snake or grabbing a snake behind the head, you physically cannot do that with this species,
right? Because
the fangs will shoot out the side like a switchblade and get you.
Oh shit!
Yeah, they're incredibly dangerous in that regard, and many people will, especially people that don't know what it is, they'll pick it up thinking it's a wolf snake or a purple gloss snake, and they'll just grab behind the head because those two snakes are notorious for nipping people, and they're harmless colubrids. And they go and they grab behind the head, and then two fangs shoot at the side like switchblades and get both fingers.
Wow.
So going back to this account, the individual,
unpinnable.
They're physically unpinnable. Pain and swelling were immediate, sharp burning sensation rapidly escalating. localized swelling and slight discoloration around the bite, intensity of pain increasing rapidly. A colleague drove me to the hospital. Another colleague called and informed the hospital that I was en route. Arrival at the hospital was 2,200 hours. Both swelling and pain had increased significantly. Over the next couple of hours, pain continued increasing substantially, unbearably in the hand. A strange numbing sensation moved progressively from the hand up the arm, reaching the left shoulder. Eyesight affected and tightness across the chest, some difficulty in breathing, but not significant. So these are all typical symptoms. Shockingly enough, a major symptom of Atractaspis envenomation is rotting and necrosis of the bite site, as well as some of the affected appendages. This guy really didn't have any of that. Basically, just had pain, just intense pain. Sorry, I'm reading screenshots here, so bear with me, folks. Fluids administered, presumably saline, pain relief in the form of morphine, was not given until 1:30 a.m. The effects were minimal and pain remained unacceptable through the night. I discharged myself against advice at 11:30 the following day. Pain remained an issue for the next few days, gradually subsiding. The site of the bite was sensitive for another couple of weeks, but other than that, no ill effects. The guy got fucking lucky. And at the same time, I should preface that there is no pure anti-venom for stiletto snake bites. There are several venom producers as well as anti-venom manufacturers that are including Atractaspis venom into their serums, but there's no like polyvalent or monovalent specific.
Monovalent.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean polyvalent because I think there's 12 or 14 different species of Atractaspis across all of Africa and into the Middle East. The snake, this is what I find the most interesting. The snake was administered mouthwash upon my return with no long-term ill effects from his misadventure. The little bugger had been rehomed to an institution where it will be milked for its venom. And then it goes into what I just said about the different species. So this individual was envenomated with one fang from the stiletto snake, received unbearable amounts of pain, but within 12 hours, discharged themselves from the hospital, having not received anything but a small dose of morphine. We know other people that got bit by stiletto snakes and had way worse of a time, i.e. Mike Clarkson and Nathaniel Frank.
Yep.
Nathaniel Frank says that, he would never wish a stiletto bite on his worst enemy.
Wow.
I have the pictures of the bite. But first, I'll show a picture of the snake because that's what people really want to see. And the best part about it is it's not an impressive looking animal at all.
Yeah, they're pretty unassuming.
Yeah, very unassuming.
Wow.
Just by the look of the picture, I mean, we can't really gauge how big it is, but they typically stay under 3 foot, usually around 2 foot in length. So if you'll notice here on the right side of the snake is the tail tip. Mm-hmm. On the left side is the snake's head. And they do this, as Nathaniel Frank calls it, the chicken plucking the ground posture. So the tip of the nose is very pointy. And what they'll do is they'll arch their neck and they'll tap their head on the ground, making a tapping sound. And what will happen is as the snake gets more agitated, they'll actually arch their whole back into a full, McDonald's arch and continue to tap. And if that doesn't work, then they do this spring-loaded pinwheel thing where they flip around 360 degrees with both fangs sticking out, hoping that they can, stab or lacerate anything that's in close proximity to the animal. A fascinating species that I do plan on working with. But it's one of those things where you don't pick them up. Because if you do pick them up, this is what happens. And these pictures are very unassuming. So that was immediately after the bite, or stabbing, I should say. You can actually see a little dot right there. Mm-hmm. This is the one at the hospital at around 1 a.m. Obviously, we have some discoloration and then major swelling. You can see how swollen his thumb and his fingers are. This is actually at the hospital after getting some morphine and some saline and stuff like that. And that was it. That's really all the guy got. So he got very, very lucky. I personally feel like and again, I'm no expert. I personally feel like this was a case of residual venom on the fang. I feel like if he actually got an actual envenomation, it would have been 10 times worse, especially if that snake was as big as it may appear.
I mean, in comparison to Mike's bite, that pretty minor.
Yeah, that guy got lucky, real lucky. So essentially what happens is you have a true wet envenomation. The snake has bitten someone, it has injected venom through the fang into the actual prey or the human, and then you get an envenomation. Then you have what's referred to as a dry bite. A dry bite is actually, you guys hear that machine running in the background? No. Okay, good. All right, sorry. It's very, very loud on my end. Then you have a dry bite. Now, I don't want to say this is not an official statistic, but the general rule of thumb is about 40% of venomous bites in captivity are dry, because the animal is not necessarily looking to kill you. It just wants you to go away. And it's not going to waste that precious venom trying to scare you off. So it may strike, it may bite, what have you. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of envenomations that are legit and bona fide, but there is a small percentage, 30, 40% in captivity specifically, that are completely dry. And then you have a residual bite where there is venom in the fang itself, or on the fang, or in the mouth of the animal. And you're envenomated on a minute level, just enough to get you going, but it wasn't a legit injection. I personally feel like that's what this was, just because, like we said, like Mike Clarkson's bite was, But yeah, I figured we haven't had a good bite report in a while, and this just happened like 10 days ago. So
I got a crazy question for you from that popped into my head, because I'm not really a venomous guy, but like, do you think that over time in captivity, I'm assuming that most people feed frozen thawed prey to venomous snakes in captivity, right?
That's the goal. I mean, you'll always get someone who gives a live prey as an enrichment thing, or give it a live prey just to make sure the snake's still ticking, So
over time, would they start to not use their venom as much? Since it's so,
you mean as in like they realize that it's already dead most of, like, every time they're
you know how like don't cottonmouths typically eat?
I mean, in my personal observation, they do very much a carrion eater. But in my observation, if they're going to bite it, it's getting envenomated. So like I have animals that won't strike. They'll just look at me like, really, what do you want me to do with that wet rat? And then I leave the rat there and they're like, oh, that's from me? Oh, okay. And they just go and they just eat it. And then I've got snakes that no matter what you put in that cage, it's biting it, and there will be venom all on the outside of the mouth. There'll be venom on the tongs. Like, they don't care. In their mind, they're like, oh, I'll just make more,
Gotcha.
I feel like it's species specific and animal specific.
Yeah, some of that is species specific for sure, I think, because I mean, in terms of course, I'm going to relate it back to chondros, but every time I feed a chondro, there is no like grabbing it gently and eating it. There is hit it like it's the last meal you're ever going to get, and then wrap it, and then hold on to it for like an hour before you. I got a few, they literally like fall asleep while they're eating, before they even start eating it, and I have to go and like bump the tub or something, and they kind of wake up and like, oh yeah, I'm eating. But like, I mean, chondros, I've never had a chondro that just gently took a mouse and ate it. Like every single one I've owned and dealt with was like, murder it, make sure
that's
it's
true.
dead.
I never even thought about that, but
And maybe it's an ambush predator thing, because same with gaboons, and I think rhinos too. Like, they'll grab it and they'll lift it off the ground and hold on to it. Maybe it's an ambush specific thing, because stuff like, like browns and taipans and stuff like that, they're not as reliant on that. It's going to be one of those things where it's like, I can just tap it and it's probably just going to stop right there where it is. So I don't know. Maybe it's a predatory sort of method that dictates that, but
I feel like it's almost like the horned toads, where they can shoot the blood out of their eye, but they're never gonna do it unless it's that last ditch. Mm-hmm. It's their Alamo. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I feel like in a defensive scenario, if I've got a rattlesnake in captivity, that thing sees me. Getting past the first 6 to 8 months, that thing sees me all the time. It knows I'm there. And eventually it may try to defend itself, but it's going to learn like, okay, this dude isn't going to step on me. This dude isn't going to eat me. You know, so why am I going to strike out? You know, now I have other animals that it's been years. Like I got cobras. It's been over 10 years. They still want to kill me. So
yeah, I think that's why I was thinking that like they can learn that. So why wouldn't they learn to just not use their venom?
yeah, I mean, I have
It also
I was saying I have a cobra that will bite the glass and gnaw its face on the glass, and like the venom just pools all over the glass.
Oh God!
And what'll happen is I will literally open the glass, throw a frozen thawed rat in there, like bam, real quick.
bang
No
and clear.
tongs, bang and clear, legit bang and clear. It will turn, and this is the best part. I'm going to use my phone as a representation. Okay, so or actually, I'll use this cigarette pack. So
Let me make sure I write this timestamp down because this is going to be good.
Right. So the snake will then turn around. It'll grab the rat by like the neck area.
Mhm.
It'll pick the rat up and then continue to hit the glass with the rat in its mouth.
Oh wow!
So like that to me just says like it's a legitimate hate. Like he hates me. You know what I mean? It's not
Gotcha.
so much. I don't think it's we always talk about how there's no such thing as an aggressive snake. They're all defensive. I'm a firm believer in that.
Mm-hmm.
But this snake is extra
But-
defensive against me.
Yeah.
You know? So so yeah, there's a time and a place for venom usage in a snake's daily or monthly or yearly routine. But at the same time, I think also it's scenario based. And it's also
Yeah, I think
species-based.
it's also going to dictate, wild caught versus, maybe F1s or something. Because I know with
Sure.
that
Yeah.
the small copperhead that I had up until we bought the house, that was brought to me as a little tiny thing. And I noticed when I went to go feed it, if I kept that mouse on the tongs, expecting it to grab it and hold on to it, it wouldn't. It just continue to strike. So I figured out that if I just let it hit it once and then drop that food right there, it would eat it no problem. But if I continue to try and get it to take it,
Right.
Yeah.
it kept striking at it like, okay, why are you not dying?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe there's also, depending on if it's an import or, be it whatever species it is, like there's
Right.
an element
Yeah.
there.
Well, in conclusion to this stiletto incident, I will say that through the grapevine, the rumor is that the individual who got bit did not ask what it was and basically just opened the bag and blindly reached in, picked it up, and got thwacked. So that is a lesson to everyone, no matter where you are in the world. Doesn't matter if venomous are prohibited in your area or if you live at the North Pole. Always ask what's in the bag. Always ask.
Didn't we learn that lesson with that one guy that died with the crate?
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
Swolzinski, right? Or
Yeah. Reached right in and it's like, oh, that's not a wolf snake. That's a crate. And now we're nowhere, and you have to carry me.
Yep.
However-
Yep. So, but yeah, Atractaspis, very, very cool species, highly underrated. I've had a few different sub-Saharan species. They're very boring. I've never seen one do the threat display ever. They kind of just sit there. But again, I'm eager to get into them. Why not? It's African. Screw it. So if any come across my path, I know Jason Keller's sending me links like on the daily now. So
yeah, it's cool. Like they're the way they're adapted to basically just raid burrows, and the fact that like the way that dentition is and the way they strike is made so that they can operate still underground in these small burrows with next to no space. They don't have to like strike in the traditional sense. They just literally have to like go up next to something and just like throw that fang out. I don't know if you showed a picture or not of the like how those fangs just shoot right out the top. Yeah. And they'll just go to nests and they'll eat a whole nest of mice or whatever, mice babies, and they just have to go in there and tap it, and they're adapted and built to basically operate in these like it's more or less a telephone booth, I guess, is kind of an analogy I would use, but it's wild.
Yeah, and even some of the ones that they're going after subterranean prey, whether it be small mammals or skinks, because let's be real, Africa's got a lot of skinks underground, and they'll sift through sand and dirt and they'll burrow through. And when they either taste the scent of a lizard, they'll go towards it. The minute they feel the movement, out comes the switchblade. And if they happen to stab it, they'll get that. I don't want to compare it to like when a bad guy runs away from a canine dog, like a canine police dog, and now the dog has the scent of that guy running. It's the same kind of concept. And the venom is so fast acting that, things work. So here is, excuse me.
They also have their own family of toxin too.
Yes. So this is the Stiletto Snake Foundation, to which Justin and I are hardcore supporters of.
I'm wearing my shirt right now.
Oh, you are? That's right. And
I got a hoodie that I haven't even worn yet. I'm waiting on the weather to cool off enough for me to rock that hoodie on the daily.
'Tis the season, my friend. So here is a stiletto in action.
Oh, yeah. Looks like a millipede.
You see how fast that is. So here's a slow motion video. And you can see it actually lands a perfect hit on the hook. Whap, there it is. And a little break dancing.
And it break dances.
Wow.
But yeah, you could imagine if you live in an area that has, the purple gloss snakes, the wolf snakes, wham, so fast. And African millipedes, this would be a very unsuspecting critter.
Yeah, like I said, they're just physically unpinnable. Like you cannot grab them behind the head because it's just you're gonna get tagged.
And here I'll show the fangs and how it works. There's some great line drawings out there. Attract aspis.
What is it? It's not a bibratoxin, right? It's like a seraphotoxin or something like that.
It's seraphotoxin.
Yeah.
So here is a fang shot real quick while I try and find the line drawings.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do they not have one of it just sticking out the side of the mouth?
They do.
Like it's like flanged out a little bit so that they don't, like I said, they don't even have to really open their mouth. They just there was good video of it at one point.
Yeah.
When they were talking about Mike's bite.
Oh man, where's that photo that I?
It's probably in O'Shea's book too. If you have Venomous Snakes of the World, I want to say there's a really good picture of it in there too.
I do.
There you go.
So now you have a snake that can literally strike and envenomate without ever opening its mouth.
That's wild.
Yeah. Super
They're
cool.
so stupid looking, but damn it.
They're super derpy and adorable, but switchblades, man. Oh, here you go. That's a good one.
It's like the Prius with that Ferrari engine in it. It may not look like much, but
it's a
like
sleeper.
Walrus. It's like a walrus.
I'm actually trying to find that line drawing real quick if I can.
And from what I understand too, bites from those are pretty common in a lot of the range as well. I'd have to talk to Mike about it and ask him, but you think about, that's a nocturnal species. People walking around, barefoot with next to no foot covering at all, in those third world areas, and it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of ASF, though, we have a pretty big mega raffle planned for this upcoming weekend. We didn't do it this weekend because of Tinley, so gonna have a humidor and some cigars and some other stuff. So
nice.
Do that and have that benefit the Asclepius Snakebite Foundation.
Very cool.
So here we can see, yes. Here we can see comparative skull shapes. Excuse me. So essentially you have 3 different types of vipers. Obviously, Actrocaspis in the middle. You can see the length of the fang.
Mm-hmm.
And then this MX right here, this is actually the hinging point for it to pull up and out the side. Here we can see it even better. See it right in
Are
there.
those considered any elapid? Are those considered their own thing?
No, they're their own thing. Yep. You can
That's
see
crazy.
multiple fangs in this one.
Yeah. I want to see a phylogenetic tree on those. That's sort of been my thing lately, is wanting to see where things are coming from, on the timeline of evolution and stuff in certain families.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's always fun.
Well, like
So, yeah,
seeing
that
like
was,
the Boiga one that they released recently that showed like Toxicodryas and Telescopus and stuff like that, seeing that they were all at one time, they all came from the same place, more or less.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just cool to see that stuff sort of mapped out. And Chondros too, when Natush released that paper that showed the
Yeah.
being able to sort of see the movement geographically of this is where they started and this is where they kind of branched out from. It would be up, I guess, because it's coming from Australia, but
You got to send me that paper with the Boiga and the Telescopus, because
that's
actually the snakes I got tonight. So
it's fun too when you can sort of time it with as Australia became more and more arid, and you can see how it changed and affected species, and it's kind of how we got like Brettles,
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch that video that Maliri did with O'Shea?
I didn't. I have it on cue, but yeah.
Yeah, like the first couple minutes of that, he actually talks about like the geography and how that land bridge sort of disappeared and how it's still changing. It was actually really interesting. Like he went way more in depth on that and how things got to how they are on Papua and how Papua's actually like evolving and changing geographically. Like the first like 20 minutes of that whole video are just talking about that, and it's actually really cool because it's something that really doesn't get paired with herpetoculture a lot, is geography, and that plays a pretty big role in things.
Oh yeah.
I think I think we have somebody else lined up coming up on the Field Herp podcast, but then Mark O'Shea is going to come for Indonesia, or I guess basically Papua New Guinea. But he did talk about a lot about that when we did the rough scale with him, because he talked. Basically, it's kind of the same thing, but because I was picking his brain about just carpets and thinking that if chondros can be on both sides of the mountain, scrubs are on both sides of the mountain, why would it be crazy to think that carpets couldn't be on both sides of the mountain? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And then
was his answer to that just that there just hasn't been enough time for that to happen?
Yeah, he's a science guy, so they never speak in definitives, if you will. But I think he was very open to the idea that a lot of Papua New Guinea still has to be. You're going to find stuff there for sure. Because then the other one
part of that coming out.
Probably maybe the end of November. I'm thinking.
Damn. Yeah. I'm gonna be waiting for that one.
It was interesting too, because the other question I asked them is, right, you find carpets and you find carpets in the top end of Australia. Now you find spotted pythons, and you're finding Antaresia up there. Would it be crazy to think that maybe there's blackheads there, or could there be other species of python that are up there? Obviously, water pythons are on both sides of that.
Yeah.
Scrub pythons. Why would this species be different? Especially if, according to what everybody says, that it's that area, that bottom part of New Guinea is a lot like the top of Australia.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Because that was something. Oh, go ahead, Phil.
No, I was just going to say real quick is that I hope that we get to do this sooner than later, because Henry and I have lots of friends in Southeast Asia that we talk to on Facebook and Instagram and stuff, and like a lot of the guys that were doing a lot of venom research in Port Moresby, they're not seeing black snakes anymore, or any of the species of black snakes, any of the Pseudechus, because the cane toad population is so intense that they just disappear. They eat 2 or 3 toads in a night and they die, and it just doesn't recoup from that. And who's to say that there aren't more out in those foothills, other species in those foothills that are going through the same sort of issues? So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talking to Natush, we see Maruki locality chondros and stuff. And according to him, you're not going to find chondros in Maruki itself because that's that sort of drier scrubland habitat. Like there's that bowl of
Mhm.
Papua New Guinea, like that. I don't. Basically, like where Northern Territory and the northern part of that connected. You know, there's that dry scrub sort of semicircle there, and he said you don't really find chondros there. So anytime you see a Maruki for sale, it's like that's just where it happened to fly out of. It's likely from like north of that, in that same sort of band, I guess.
Yeah, I could never connect the idea of carpet pythons and chondros being in that same area and looking like they do. Meaning that, like, I would expect them to look more like a jungle carpet, which some IJs, right, that are over there. Sometimes you see that yellow and black type of thing, but like most of the people that have told me that what it looks like in that environment is like the Northern Territory. You're not going to find a chondro in the Northern Territory, man. It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? They're just not going to survive. They're going to look like a rough scale, you know?
Do either of you guys have O'Shea's Snakes of Papua?
Yeah.
Nope.
Hell yeah, man. And even though the book is a little dated, it's probably a lot dated, let's be real. It's an awesome book.
Awesome.
He's working on
volume 2. Yeah.
Yeah. In Malaria's video, he said he was working on either a revision or another version of it.
Excellent.
I got to tell you, man, talking to him, obviously you're talking to somebody that, like, growing up as a kid, that, I mean, it's like talking to Steve Irwin, you know, he's on that level, and what a chill guy. It's just this, you know, what, man, he just it was just awesome. It's really cool.
Look, it was funny in Dan's video because, you know, they'd started, I think it was originally meant to talk about that maculosa, or the maculosa that Dan got, and it evolved into like so much other stuff because you could just tell like O'Shea was just as like nerding out just as hardcore as anybody else does on podcasts, because they started with maculosa and then it just completely
100%.
went high into the right.
I think, you know, I haven't floated this by Nipper, but there's a couple parts that I would have to take out, that because Nipper and Mark both say, Marco, you know, edit this out. This has to come out, right? But in that conversation, I was thinking about taking that part out, but then just putting up the raw, uncut, unfiltered conversation that we had, the three of us, and putting it in like the Patreon thing or something like that, you know. Just
hell yeah.
I think that would be cool.
It was just cool to see that he seems, he just gets, he's as psyched about that stuff as, you know, all of us are, and that it takes him on tangents too, you know. It's not just straight to business you know, all the time. But I really wish that his, you know, the episodes of the show and stuff were still available. He had talked about that in Dan's video as well, that there's like copyright issues with, you know, whatever production company is that handled it, and that's the only reason they're really not available. You know, it gets shut down.
I will say this, not just because excuse me, not just because you're sitting here with us right now, but I listen to a fair bit of podcasts. I have not been on the edge of my seat, literally, as well as that last episode with Mark. That Field Herping Cast episode was just like, what? What am I like holding the headphones? Like, can't wait for episode 2.
Yeah, it was. You know, I guess for me personally, with that episode in particular, rough scales being such a, you know, a dream species to ever work with in captivity, to think that they would ever even be in my snake room or whatever is just nuts. And then to actually talk to the guy that was there on one of the trips, that, you know what I mean? It's like directly from him. There's no in between. There's no,
we always talk about we always talk about the natural history of snakes. He is part of the natural history of the rough-scaled python. I mean, literally, like that in itself is phenomenal. You know,
It makes me think about like having more people like that on the show, you know. But I think sometimes that balance of like people that are academics are not necessarily, you know, not like not necessarily like him per se, you know.
Right.
Like I'm not going to go on some random podcast. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly,
You know?
exactly. The benefit is that not only is Mark an academic, but he's a herper. He's a herper. He's one of us, you know, and that's the best part, man.
Yeah, that was a that was all these 10 years of podcasting were all worth it right in that that time frame.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh man,
I have this Boyga paper somewhere. I'm trying to find it. It's probably on my computer, not my phone, but I'll post it in the Snakes and Stogies group as a file.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll get it. I'll look it over. The
Harry Green would be a good one, Scott. It'd be cool to talk to him.
Yeah, and Ron Whitaker, of course. What was I going to say about the Boyga article? Damn. Well, I literally spent the majority of today, every chance I could at work, talking to Nipper about Telescopus, because I went and got those two tonight, and just going over the different localities and the different colors and phenotypes, and like I'm sending him pictures. He's like, "No, that's wrong." He's like, "No, that's wrong." And at one point, I think he was actually getting mad at me, but he was being a little playful about it. And he's like, "I have seen them in the wild. That picture is wrong." And it's like, okay, I got you. So, yeah, but it's good, man. It's awesome. It's
what species of Telescopus did you get?
Nipper says they're Upsiletus, and I agree with him. I do. They're supposed to be Dahara. But they're just by looking at them. So Nipper informed me that the black lateral line that starts at the tip of the nose, goes through the eye and all the way to the back of the head is definitively Upsiletus. So I have a female that is like I don't want to say barred or banded, but definitely has like a saddling to it. And then I got a completely patternless male. So, and they're babies. They're captive hatched, and we'll see what happens. So now I'm slipping down that colubrid rope, you know.
Yeah, it's cool to see colubrids kind of getting some love again, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like the obscure colubrids too. It seems like the North American colubrids are getting some well-deserved love as of late.
Scott says there was a review of Telescopus. There is a review. I actually have it on ResearchGate. I've gotten about halfway through it. It doesn't cover every single species, but it definitely talks about the obtusus and the I always mess with, it's the Tripoli one. It talks about the Tripoli one as well as Dahara and Dahara, and then it briefly touches base on semiannulatus. I definitely want to get semiannulatus again. Those are my favorites, but nothing's coming out of Southeast Africa these days. So that's what happens.
I just want a night tiger.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Dude, they were everywhere in the Northern Territory. It's like another night tiger.
Nice. Yeah, they did some of those candy canes, man. Incredible. Yeah. Incredible. And Scott's like, it's whatever. No.
Yeah.
Incredible.
They're like crappets.
Yeah, crappets. Yeah. Smitty, did we completely forget about the 2 questions of the week?
Oh, we did.
We did. Do you want to do them or you want to save them?
Hell no, man. Let's do them.
Let's do them. We got the Podfather here. Let's do them.
Let's do it.
Here, while he looks at that,
I got it. I was trying to
got it.
That paper, man. Someone sent it to me, and I think I deleted it. Damn it. Oh, questions of the week.
Here, while he's digging, I'll show you the obtusus babies. I mean, they're crappy deli cut pictures because I literally just snapped them to send a nipper real quick.
Right. Yeah, but still.
Yeah. I haven't set them up or nothing. I just literally.
He probably complained about it too.
Oh, cool.
So that's the.
Oh,
Yeah, right?
That's cool,
so
man.
That's the female. She's a little smaller, but you can see this picture got blurry. You can see the black line through the eye.
Mhm.
Nachschlagen.
Der Nachschlagen. So yeah, so this is the patterned obtusus, and then here is, if I can get it to correct itself. Whoops. That's the patternless male.
Oh
Why
wow.
won't you load?
And I'm pretty sure they came out of the same clutch. So I'm waiting to talk to another guy tomorrow who takes care of the colubrid room at the farm because he's the one who incubated them. And I want to make sure that they are from the same clutch because that would be awesome if both these animals came out of the same clutch. It'd be very cool.
Hell yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
So,
All
yeah,
right,
I'll
so
get better pictures when it's not, rushed, so to speak. So,
We'll start with the cigar question of the week because that got 2
Yeah.
replies. And that was, what's been your favorite cigar or brand lately? Thomas Irvin replied with the Umbagog from Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. It's the Corona Gore, the 6x48. That's a very good cigar. And then Dylan Peerless, I've been enjoying the Punch Corona offerings for a while now, which is also a solid smoke.
nice.
The Herp question of the week was, do you prefer the bigger shows like NRBC or NRBE over the smaller, more frequent shows? Why or why not? Brendan Meyer said they both have their place for me. I like the NARBC shows because of the variety, chaos, and to meet a ton of different people from around the country, but you also can't beat a local show where you can make connections in your specific area in a less hectic environment, at least here in St. Louis. Thomas Irvin, I prefer the big shows, but going to the local Repticon still has its place. Connor Wardle, who I definitely want to get on THP soon. He said, I like the smaller shows like the Lone Star Reptile Expos we have in Texas because I get to see local guys that I know. I do enjoy attending NARBC Expos every now and then to see some stuff that is a little less common and being able to talk about herps with some friends out of my state, Facebook friends. Jeremy Carroll, bigger. Seem to have a bigger variety than cresteds and ball pythons, though it depends on the show you go to. Dr. Wyman said kind of split down the middle. I like the smaller local shows for the frequent social factor, but I like, quote unquote, liked Tinley because there are things there that literally cannot be seen anywhere else. I would probably be slightly more biased if there was a solid large show out here on the East Coast because I guess Daytona doesn't count.
Yeah.
Northeast.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of agree. Like, I don't really go to local shows anymore. I like to save my social battery for Daytona.
Well, see, I'm in a pickle because I physically can't take the time off from work to go to local shows.
That too.
Me too.
And I'm off every Sunday, but with the exception
Who goes
of,
to shows on Sundays?
Well, I was going to say, with the exception of like Pembroke Pines show and some of the Miami stuff, all the other shows for me are easily a 3 to 4 hour drive minimum. And it's like, I have to wake up super early, drive all the way out there only to see the same, 10 people I already know and talk to on a regular basis per se. Not to sound cocky, but like it's a small circle in that regard. And I'm probably not going to buy anything. So like, I want to go to local shows. I really do, but it's honestly not feasible for me. And I'm really messed up because I really want to go to the super shows and the Tinley and all that, all the herp shows in Texas. Like I want to go to those. I just taking time off from work is just super difficult for me. That's why I make a mission to do Daytona,
Yeah, I think those bigger shows, right? You sort of look at it as, well, at least I look at it as like you're going to have the top reptile people, breeders at those shows that are going to they're going to be showing off, right?
Sure.
I mean, Daytona or Tinley or the Super Show or whatever. Whereas like with the local show, you're going to get more of that, boutique type breeder, but Travis is right, man. I mean, what do we have here? Hamburg, dude. I cannot go to Hamburg, man. That's just a shit show. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't do it. I know people do it, but I can't. And especially if you go somewhere like Tinley or Daytona, you know, it's like, what? You guys ain't even in the same ballpark. Apparently, those guys in Texas, they're doing a pretty good job with local shows. I don't know how your shows are down where you're at, but up here they're not that great. So,
Well, like, I mean, I used to
don't-
love going to the Columbia show by Justin simply because there's Venomous. And they did back in the day, they did a great job of orchestrating it and keeping it professional and so on and so forth. So we'd go up just for that, you know. But I don't know. I feel like I can't go to Tinley unless I bring a minimum of $5,000 just spending cash, which I cannot do anytime soon. So,
well, it's sort of like we all have our own little sections of the U.S., right? You know, a lot of the people that are down south are going to go to Daytona. A lot of the people that are up north are in the Northeast. It's probably about the same drive. It's 15 hours either way, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know I'd max the credit card out, and that would be a bad thing, you know? And like, I know that the first time I go to Tinley, I'm going to see animals that I've only dreamed of seeing and wish they were at Daytona.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that kind of, it kind of annoys me because so many people are willing to go to Tinley, but they're not willing to go the same distance to Daytona. And I feel like
like the colder weather.
I think I can speak for myself that like I went to Daytona maybe 4 years ago.
Right.
And I think a lot of like the people that I talk to up here would make that trip. But I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about, number one, you know, like take Matt, right? I've had this conversation with Matt. He would go down there and want to do his blood pythons and all. But the idea is that somehow you got, you know, the paperwork part of it is a pain in the ass, right? And maybe it's not.
I can get that. No.
But like when we're looking at, okay, if I'm going to drive 15 hours this way and all I have to do is set up, or I have to drive 15 hours this way, and now I got to do this paperwork bullshit, and I got to do all this, you know, hoops that I got to jump through.
I don't know if my species is on a list in this given week.
Right. You know, and the other thing is like, I hear too many old school people say it's not what it was, but it's never going to, it's sort of like my frustration when the forums were kind of going away, right? Everybody's bitching about the forums that they wish that they came back, but nobody goes to the forums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to be coming back if you don't go. So like Daytona possibly could be, and again, I haven't been there in years, but like when I went, I thought I was impressed. I didn't think that like, and maybe it's because I'm not a ball python person. So maybe, you know, the idea of what it was is, you know, I don't know. I didn't have any preconceived notion of what it was supposed to be, if that makes sense.
Sure.
You know?
Oh yeah.
But I think that
I
a lot of
that.
that problem is with Daytona is that.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those cases where, and I'm not saying people are lazy or anything like that, but I feel like it's a lot of cases where it's like, oh my God, there's paperwork, and if you really look into it, it's a joke. You know what I mean? Like but like they don't even want to look at it because it's like, oh, it's not worth it. And then all those people are like, oh, it's not what it used to be. It's not what it used to be. It's never going to be what it used to be because things change and evolve, like you said.
Yeah.
You know, and you look at back in the day, back to like the early 2000s when you could have retics and berms and African rock pythons and all that. Yeah, that was great, but those are 3 or 4 species that you've cut out the list. I feel like there's more of a change because now it has to be captive bred. And you don't have tables full of these crazy exotics that were imported in mass volumes because A, they're not getting imported anymore. They're just not. And B, it has to be captive bred. So I totally get that concept. I don't know. I'm saddened by it, you know?
Yeah, it kind of sucks because clearly Daytona is a better place to be. Who would want to be in the cold when you could be in the freaking beach? I mean, come on, man. It's no brainer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at least for me. I don't know. Maybe some
Yeah.
people
At
like
the Snakes
gold.
and Stogies gazebo.
At the Snakes and Stogies gazebo.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
gotta
I
find
don't
a
know.
catchy
Maybe you
name.
guys will influence that, I mean, you guys are going there and you talk about it and you
Yeah.
hype it up. So maybe you guys will have an influence on people wanting to go, and then if people are there, then more vendors are going to say, okay, well, maybe the paperwork isn't that bad and maybe I'll give it a shot. And then all of a sudden you have that same, you have it rolling in a positive direction, the snowball, rather than in the negative direction.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah.
It's
And
the
I
ebb
think
and
that
flow.
I think that is a great example because I was terrified this past Daytona. I was legitimately terrified. I even told Anna Maria, I was like, man, Justin and I and our friend group, we hyped up Daytona so much. I'm afraid that we overhyped it, and it's either gonna make us look bad or people are just gonna be really disappointed.
Just like
And-
Chili's and Del Rio.
Yeah, just like Chili's and Del Rio, right? But I feel like it didn't do that. It was exactly what we hyped it up to be. I feel like certain individuals thought, oh wow, the parties are going to be more intense and it's not just going to be a bunch of herpers sitting around drinking beers outside, but it was still a grand old awesome time. So I don't know.
Yeah. Personally, I prefer the Carpet Fest thing. I if I was going to travel the U.S., I would much rather go to another Carpet Fest than and of course I'm going to be biased on that, but like you don't have the whole show thing. You know what I mean? Not that not that I'm saying that's a bad thing, but just for me, I don't know. I would dig that more. Like I wish I would have been able to go out to this one on the Northwest.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is that as much as we love the Carpet Fests, I can't go shopping.
Yeah. Well,
I'm okay
that's
with
what
not being able to do that.
Yeah.
No, man, I want to go shopping. I'm as Scott says, I'm a snob. I want to go shopping. So
shop at the book table, man. The book table is where it's at. That's the best show and the best table in the show.
Dude, Casey got me field guide to Herps of Israel at the book table at Tinley. Yeah. So
there you go, man.
As soon as he comes down, I gotta grab that from him. That's awesome.
The cool thing about Tinley is, to your point, Phil, is like there's a lot of variety, but I will say this: if you're not paying attention to the variety, you're not going to see the variety. And what I mean by that is like when we came back from Australia the first time, and species are going in my head now. Right. And we walk by a table, I'm looking at a knobtail gecko. I'm looking at water dragons. I'm looking at these monitors. I'm looking at these different things that I just would have been passing to just get to what I want to look at. You know what I mean? I want to go see who has carpet pythons. Okay.
Right.
Who has weird colubrids. Okay, there we are. We're standing at the table, and then that's it. And then you're missing a lot, I guess.
Yeah, I can totally see that. And I think that's also like I've had friends tell me, they're like, dude, you've done like 4 laps. What are you doing? Like, let's go home. I'm like, no, because like you're constantly, like you said, you're constantly seeing things and picking things up. Or better yet, I may see something that, and this is going to sound stupid, I forgot I wanted. And now you're asking yourself, you're like, I used to want that. Do I still want that? You know?
Yeah. I don't think I do, because I haven't thought about it in a year, but now it's in front of me.
Like do you, like not this past Daytona, but the one before that. So that'd be 2020, Justin, right? Was that last one?
Yes.
Okay. So I saw so many Strophuris, and they were all reasonably priced. And I was like, I should just buy like 5.
Right.
No, I don't need it. They're arboreal. I don't need it. No. And I talked myself out of it.
Right.
And I'm kind of glad I did, but that's another example of every year or every other year, it's different. Like Justin, was that the same year that there were all the roughies?
Yeah.
Or was it the year before? That was the same year. Yeah. You never expect to see a rough scale python at Daytona. And there was like 6
Not
different
on 9
breeders.
tables.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Crazy.
That's wild.
But this past year, I don't think there was a single one, was there?
No, I didn't see. Well,
Yeah.
There might have been like
I don't-
one table, but
there
it
might have
was
been, like,
literally
one.
like one single animal. Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Casey comes around the corner with a friggin' Angolan in his hand. I'm like, where the hell did you get that? You know, it's same concept, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah. They're cool snakes.
That crazy cannon.
that crazy cannon.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen,
That boy's nothing
It's-
but trouble.
we're at the 237 mark.
Oh wow, 237. Holy shit!
Closing remarks, gentlemen.
It's been a blast.
100%, sir. 100%.
Appreciate
Yeah.
the
We
invite.
didn't have THP last week because I had a work event, but this week we will be back. Our usual Thursday night.
Cool beans.
Cool.
Podfather, when are you back on the air? Not this week, next week?
Yeah, yeah. Next week.
Okay.
We got the calendar contest results. Terry Burwell will be coming on to chat
Oh,
with
sweet.
us and go over
Nice.
the. We'll probably do that live so we can share pictures and stuff. And then,
Hell yeah.
but yeah,
Awesome.
good stuff.
Well, Podfather, thank you again. A pleasure as always.
Yeah, likewise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime. Yeah.
And everyone, don't forget to check out Puget Sound Pythons. Oh,
That's right.
there they are. I'm at a different screen now.
Venomous
So-
etiquette videos, Herpetoculture magazine, all
Yes.
that good stuff.
Check it out. Lizard Brain Radio. Dive into it.
NPR.
NPR, yeah. Jesus. NPR. How can we forget to
The
say
NPR
that?
network.
The NPR.
You got to be under a
network.
rock to not be aware of the NPR network now.
That is very true. Very true. I'm eager
Yeah.
to see is Doc going to do a fight club while they're out there?
He already did. He did one with Keith McPeak.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah, they did it like we did in Texas. So
Nice. Awesome.
that'll be out Friday. Yep.
Cool, man. Can't wait.
They've been cranking those out.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, Justin and Chuck are pretty. They took to heart that stick to the schedule thing, man.
Yeah.
They don't mess around.
Yeah.
So.
100%. And
Yeah.
you know what else is we go on tangents, we go on departures, we have these long conversations, and they're like, bam, right in an hour.
Yeah.
You know, it's good for
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but
yeah, they're not space cadets like us.
yeah, I guess so.
So well,
Right
ladies
on.
and gentlemen,
All right.
thank you. And
Have a good evening.
night.